Is it saying that? Honest,
You
seriously?
live now. I don't. This is crazy.
R. Kelly. So are we being
Ha-
shadow banned?
no, that's for something else. Can you guys see the chat? Cause we live now.
Okay.
I can't see the chat for some reason. It's not showing on his phone.
You can't see the chat?
Nope. See. It's... Okay, I see it. Hey Ashley. Hey Kels gal. Hey, how y'all doing? Okay. It came up for me. Cool. It's saying hold on. I gotta change this. You guys give me a second.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey everybody.
Hey, K baby. Hello, everybody. Daddy Lola, you got you a cocktail?
No, I ain't got no cocktail.
I'm on cocktail number 2.
How was your Christmas?
My Christmas was great. What about yours?
It was wonderful. Had a great time spending it with my
My
family.
Christmas was great. What about yours? That's good. Everyone in the
So you
chat, how
guys
was
go
your?
ahead. I'm sorry.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead
Daddy.
and
I'm
keep
sorry.
talking while I fix this. We're gonna let some people come in because I gotta fix this. I don't know what happened.
No problem.
Oh,
Did everyone in the chat so far, all 19 people of you, hit the like button as you were coming in? And also, how was you guys' Christmas for those that celebrate the holiday?
you
Daniela,
got
what
any
did you do?
kids?
I do. I actually have one son who's 32, and I have 3 grandbabies, 11, 6, and 1. So I
Oh,
spent my entire day with them.
oh, okay.
What about you?
I got two daughters, 18 and 9.
Oh, okay. 18 and 9. Ashley, I'm sorry it was difficult for you, honey. I hope and pray that God gives you grace and mercy and heals your heart and anything else in between. Tonight, guys, I think the only thing that Dottie wanted to do was just have a quick Q&A pre Surviving R. Kelly Part 3, I think it is. Um, it's coming out, I think, in a couple of weeks, right, Daddy Lolo?
Yeah,
We're not
yeah.
really sure. We are for certain that um, Jane Doe number 5 is going to be highlighted, and a couple of other people. I think there's
Jane Doe
some
number 5 is meaning Azriel.
Clary.
Yeah.
Yes, she will be one of the people. It seems to me that's highlighted in this situation. Um, I'm sure most of you have probably read um, the email that Rob sent in relations to this thing coming out soon. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing that she wanted to highlight is the actual, I mean, just to review the actual transcripts and the star witnesses that were in both cases, the conflicting information that was put out, just a reminder, just kind of like um, show the inconsistencies, and also just to refresh everyone on what was said and done and all that stuff. So I think it's just, and some Q&A on people. And I know Spitfire, hey, I see you in here. She touches on it a lot. And, but it's just a reminder. And if you can hit it on all avenues as to what's going on pre surviving R. Kelly, the final chapter, or whatever it is they're calling it, that's, it's good to just refresh people, on what's
Yeah.
going on. And
And from
hopefully this
my
reaches.
understanding, they're gonna be bringing up some stuff dealing with the transcript. But the way
Yeah.
it looked like they was doing it, they was blurring out a lot of stuff
Hmm.
and hitting on a lot of
Yeah.
highlighted stuff that worked in the
Yes.
prosecution favor, and
Yes.
didn't go into the favor of the defense. So
Yes.
once again, it is still one sided.
Exactly. And like Miss Guided just said, it's a shock value that they're trying to push out there to the masses to get them to only see one side of the situation, because the whole documentary in itself is a one-sided situation. There was no one, I mean, Rob never got to tell his story or anybody else um on what happened. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So Dottie, you're back. I'll let you go ahead and open it up. And please put your questions or concerns. I'm not sure if the link is going to be dropped tonight.
I'm,
Probably, maybe not.
yeah, I'm sorry. I just turned the camera on. I'm actually not back just yet, and I don't see any
Oh,
questions.
okay. Okay, cool. We'll keep talking.
Yeah.
Um, Finfire, what you've been doing over there, keeping it in the as a talking point for people and to try and push out the facts. We appreciate you for doing that. Not sure if anything that we're doing is going to be any help, but you know, um, we just want to revisit some things. So, Mahogany, hello, sweetheart.
So you know what? Since we're not getting any questions just yet, Tanya, would you mind just starting off by reading, like you said, some of the highlights that when I watched the trailer for for the Surviving R. Kelly 3, we know
Mm-hmm.
some of the main people that they're gonna be discussing. So if you wanna maybe just touch on some of their testimony, and then
Yeah, sure. Um,
uh,
I think the main,
maybe that'll help generate some questions.
yeah, I think the main person that they were focusing on is who they're calling Jane Doe number 5, which we all know who that is. That is Azrael Kelly. Um, and that little you saw, and I'm not sure. I think I did too, where they were going to be only putting in the prosecution side of the transcripts versus the cross examination from Mr. Cannon.
Right.
Is that what you noticed?
That's what I noticed during the trailer.
Yeah.
And then also, you guys, we just trying to get basically on top of that to try to debunk a lot of what we already know that they're gonna say. But instead of just doing it, where we're just sitting and just reading transcripts, we thought this would be a little bit more entertaining and exciting and keeping people, with us. So, and making sure that even as we're reading it, sometimes it still can be interpreted wrong. So, if you have questions throughout, let's ask the questions. If you come in on the chat and you're not familiar with the trial, or you heard something on a different social media site and you just wondering about, well, did this happen? Did that happen? From my perspective, Lolo's perspective, that was there, and then you have Tanya that has read each one of these transcripts word for word. Now is the opportunity for you guys to ask those questions. So that's what this live is for.
Yeah. Um, I think I will, because when she started testifying, it started out as Kanik asking her, per the transcript, and this is word for word, um, about her father shopping a book deal concerning her allegations. And she admitted that he was shopping a deal, and this is word for word because Kanik asked her, um, this was after the recess. They had a recess that morning, and he was asking her in reference to, um, now, Kanik asked her, now, you and your father were shopping a book deal concerning your allegations here. Am I correct? And she said yes. And the person that she was working with was someone by the name of Stacy Brown. She also stated that she had never met her. Her father did, um, only. She had an agent at this time of the trial. They asked her, um, what her agent's name was, and she didn't know. Just said it was a woman from LA. So let's just see. Hold on. They actually started. Now, what day, Daddy Lola? Can you refresh us that Rob was arrested?
July 11th, 2019.
19. So they actually started meeting with someone to publish a book in February 5th of 2020. Um, and that's per the transcript. Let's see, hold on just a second. I'm gonna try and find a point where I can okay, so I'm gonna go here where he asked her. Now, this is the following day. Now, yesterday you were asked you about taking photos of Robert and yourself where you could possibly exploit him on a future date. Do you remember talking about that? And she said, yes, I do. Now, there was a point in time that you stopped taking the pictures and doing things to possibly exploit Robert because you felt as though you were betraying his trust. And she said, yes, that is correct. Now, yesterday she offered, now he says, yesterday you offered into evidence, and I want to read them to the jury so you can read them out loud, read them loudly and slowly. Yes, all of them. So this is when she had written a letter to her dad, was like, Pops, you didn't tell mommy that you used to FaceTime and call Rob. And then Kanik said, let me stop you there. When you say Pops, who are you referring to? And she's like, my father. And he's like, go ahead, please. And it says, Pops, you tell mommy that you used to FaceTime and call Rob and had hour-long conversations, happy and jolly and never upset. You didn't even tell mommy all the things you had me trying to do to blackmail Rob. It's a shame because both of you were very happy, but y'all started listening to blank and joined them. And I'm assuming that the blank, this is only my assumption, that the blank where they blacked it out was speaking about the Clarys. Wouldn't that what you guys would think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he stopped her there and she said, who are you blank are you referring to? And she said, well, if you go down further, she says Joy's parents. Joy, one of Robert's living girlfriends, yes. Okay. They found other exes and out of curiosity told them what to do and what to say. There's an arrow pointing down up, but I really can't make out what it's saying. And it says, this is her letter to her dad. It just says, you're literally taking illegal actions when you know you done wrong as parents. What really makes me angry is that all of you could still be in my life, but your actions and choices shows that's not what you care about. All I have to say is this, and all I have to say is this. And if you want me to be in your life, you will be, and if you don't, I won't be. But no matter what you do, I will forever be deeply in love with Robert, and I will forever spend my life with him and continue to create beautiful memories. I'm not going to sacrifice or ruin my happiness just to appease you guys. So, and then it says, you've depressed yourselves, stressed yourselves out, aged yourself, and made yourself so miserable chasing an idea that you have covered up will never come to life. You think I'm happy that you're on in my life? No, but I would not allow y'all to think you can talk to me whenever you want while doing interviews bashing Rob. I love this man and I pray that you would never let another person bash Pops without standing up for him and vice versa, because this is true, genuine love. And do you guys remember this letter that was read?
Yeah, I remember it.
You remember?
Yeah,
So I guess my question is too. So did they say that she was forced to write this letter, right?
that's what the prosecution tried to
Yeah.
put in.
But these letters were all, in my opinion, truth.
And then but how was she forced to write the letters when she still wrote Rob a letter while he was behind bars?
Hmm. And then, guys, the next letter says, and this is what she's reading um, out to the jury during the trial. The next letter says, I am hurt and devastated. I cannot see my family because of you guys. You guys have put me in this position, and then you're angry when I don't reach out. The next letter says, mine Pops, not only am I devastated, but I'm crushed from everything that you two have done and how you've decided to go about this. None of this should be happening, and you all could have put a stop to this, but you decided to join in and get some money. If you're working with him and making money in any kind of way, you'll be okay with me being with Robert. And that's the sad part, that you need money to be happy for me. Both of you knew where the studio was, and for nearly 5 years, I can count how many times you tried to see me in one hand. None of you did interviews for free. Both of you took money, and you don't need money to be a caring parent. And if someone paid you right now to do an interview, you do it. All that you've done and all that you're still doing were has where what's got us here right now. Definitely not closer to me, nor have I wanted to see you guys because of it. And I still don't want to. I'm still living my life happy with Robert while you two are making yourselves more miserable every day. You don't even have to. Mom, when I was 17, you were telling me to take pictures, take telling me to take as many pictures and videos with this man so you could blackmail him and use it against him in the future. Exactly what you're trying to do now. You knew his past and you tried to use it against him by making me the bait. You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Making her the bait. So what is perspective? I'm so I'm gonna
Now,
do.
now this is where the jury probably could have got confused at, because the prosecution said that was she was forced to write that letter, right?
Yeah,
But they didn't see the text message where that actually did happen between her mom and her mom and Robert.
yeah. Hmm.
But they kept that part out. They they kept that from allowing the jury to see those text messages where it's actually showing that. So it wasn't like she lied in this letter.
She said to him to her mom, "You continue to push me on this man. You really made me feel like a hoe and a prostitute by saying those words to me. And I went along because I was trying to please you, but you don't know how terrible you made me feel as a mother. You dropped me off at 3 in the morning and didn't care if I was with you or not. You wanted me to be alone with him, and you know that. You have text very threatening things saying, since you're fucking my daughter, you need to send me $10,000 to this bank account every month. You threatened me and him personally. You said we need to send you a food check and buy this, which is not how you act or things you say as a mother or a parent. I don't know if you know, but I'm sure you do by now. But I came to Florida to blank. But anyway, let's just touch on that part where the parents were threatening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saying that if you didn't pay me $10,000 a month, that they were going to talk. And so I think Rob said no. Well, I
And
know he did.
even in those transcripts, she also says, because this is separate from reading the letters, she was asked directly, why did your parents get involved with all of this? And she said because they had became acquainted with the Joyce family, and they basically jumped on the bandwagon. So she in court under oath threw them under the bus and said that the Savages were intentionally looking for people that Rob had dated previously to start this little, what do you want to call it, campaign against him, the smear campaign against him.
Extortion.
But
Yeah.
that's all in the transcripts. So when you think, okay, if you were forced to write those letters, then you turn around and when you're asked a question, you almost say the exact same thing. Why would we think that you were forced to write those letters? Because you're answering the questions the same way. It's just worded
Exactly.
differently. Then you
Exactly.
say, she said under oath, Rob put her on a pedestal. She felt that she was the main bitch.
Yeah,
Excuse my
she
language.
was the bottom
But
bitch,
she
huh?
said I was put on a pedestal. I was number one.
Mm.
So none of that's really, it's not really making sense. No, I don't think that she was forced to write these letters. And if you were forced to write the letters, what is writing that letter to your brother gonna do? Okay, so when she was cross-examined, the reason she wrote the letter is because she had actually left Rob, flew to Florida, was hanging out with her brother. They went to a hookah lounge or whatever, and she was calling herself leaving him, but then she decided she wanted to fly back. So
Hmm.
she flew back and she sent that letter to her brother explaining why and what happened.
And also, guys, I remember, and I heard Mr. Clary on someone else's live saying to them that they didn't even want to get involved in this at first. They were kind of pressured by Joy's dad family. They
He
He
actually
he's
he did. He said
he
because,
said that on his own live.
yeah, he
oh, he
said
did.
because
Yeah,
their
when him
daughter
and
was
Tim
the,
was into it.
yeah, he said because their daughter was technically the only one that was 17 at that time. The Savages really needed them to jump on board so that it can look worse for Rob. And so he said whatever magazine that they interviewed with the Savages, I'm referring to first, they the Savages put that magazine and stuff in contact with the Clarys, kind of forcing their hand to come out.
Yeah, because right here in also in here in part of the letter, she was saying to her brother, um, you guys didn't tell my she was saying to her mom, her parents, you guys didn't tell my brother that y'all were texting Rob that I'm grown, I can do what I want and make my own choices. Um, yeah, that was a part of what she said in court, and and I think it's still a part of her reading the letter. She said that, y'all told Rob I was grown, I can do what I want to do. So that's the reason why, in my opinion, they weren't even looking for her. And if you're going to do a Lifetime video making it seem as if your daughter was stolen or taken or whatever, held hostage or whatever the case may be, I believe wholeheartedly this entire letter. If Rob wasn't supposed to be able to read and write and comprehend, how was he supposed to know what she wrote in a damn letter?
Well, then let's just go here, Tanya. If you want to believe that letter, would it have made sense for her to say, well, around the around 2015, July, August, she had decided that she wanted to let Rob know she needed to go back to Florida because she was about to start her senior year. So she
Mm-hmm.
said at that time, she told him that she was 17. And he jumped up and he smacked her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the next day, she said she was on a flight right back to Florida. Now, would it make sense for him to send her all the way back when she say that she's 17 and then turn around just for her parents to send her back? Then for him to want to say, well, I'm going to need you to write these letters to cover my tracks, to cover your tracks or whatever. Does that even make sense?
No.
It don't make sense to me.
So listen, the part where you were saying she left. So mechanic is asking her, now you were apart from Robert when you wrote that letter. And she said, pardon me. And he asked her, were you apart? Were you separated from Rob when you wrote that letter? And she says, I was not. She says, okay, were you in the same household when you wrote the letter? Yes, I was. And you were expressing to him that you were tired of the relationship and didn't want the relationship. Am I correct? And she said, I did, yes. And did you leave? She says, I don't recall.
So I'm gonna tell you guys, when she came out with her YouTube channel, for everybody that remembers, and she said that she was going to tell her story, and she said she didn't know how long it was going to take, but she was going to get everything. This was in the very beginning when she first left. And then in that video, she was giving little frames of her text messages, all different type of text messages that was between her and Rob was popping up on the screen. So what I did was, as I watched the video, I stopped it and I screenshotted it. And then I went back and read them. She does have a text message there where Rob is telling her, "Why did you leave? You didn't have to leave." And he said some things about regarding Joy, because I guess she was upset he did something for Joy that he didn't do for her. And he's told her, "You can turn around and get back on the plane and come back right now." He was apologizing to her for whatever the situation was. So that's a blatant lie if she said that she wasn't apart from him. She was, and she left on her own several
Mhm.
times, just like Holly did. They all testified that they was able to leave and come whenever they wanted to.
And she had a Snapchat where she says, "Baby, I ain't never been held against my will. Wrong person. You need to stop reading the tabloids." Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that came up in court too.
And let's make it clear, Rob, when that came out, Rob was incarcerated.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
That actual Snapchat thing came out in court as an exhibit. And with
So,
her telling, and the video with her telling her dad that she was, she that they was acting a fool and that they was trying to put out some type of narrative that she was being held against her will and all of that. And but he knew where they were, where she was, and how Rob would always tell her to contact her parents, and she would say, "No, I'm not going to contact them." She said, and this was while Rob was incarcerated too. She said this to her dad's face, and that video was entered into evidence as well.
okay, so let's get into this. It says, "Now you testified and told us about a situation where you told Rob that you were 17 and he sent you back home. And am I correct?" And she said, "Yes, he did. In fact, he sent you back home the very next morning. Am I correct?" And she says, "Yes, he did. Now, you went back down to Florida and you spoke with your mother. Am I correct?" "Yes, I did. And your father. Am I correct?" "Yes, I did. And you said that they executed a document giving someone else guardianship over you. Am I correct?" "Correct. And as you sit here today, do you recall the name of the person that they gave guardianship to?" And she said, "Yes, I did. Yes, I do." "What's the name of the person?" And there was an objection. Um, and then they came. Kanik said, "So she gave someone guardianship, right?" "Yes, she did. And before giving guardianship to this person, they never had a conversation with this person. Am I correct?" "No." "Okay, they never FaceTime this person. Am I correct?" "No, they didn't. They never gave this person any details of their expectations of them with regards to you. Am I correct?" Um, and she said, "No. To my knowledge, no, I don't know." Now, you testified and told us that Robert had a rule. According to you, you had to, when you travel with him on the tour bus, you had to knock on the door. That goes into something else. But do you see where um her parents, he sent her home?
and I want to go right back to that. So the parents are saying we sent our daughter there for him to do an album or do a song with her,
With
whatever the case
Sony.
may be. Okay, well, if that's the case, why is it that when he finds out she's 17, he sends her back? If that's what y'all thought that she was only supposed to be doing. My question would have been, why are you sending her back? So what? She's 17. You only working on the song.
Exactly.
And then when from there I would have went, well, are you having sex with my daughter? What's going on? Because that you worried about. And she wouldn't have went back.
No.
But the fact that that was the issue, and there was the actual when she returned back to Florida, Rob's attorney called the parents. So Rob didn't talk to the parents at that time. Rob's attorney called. Once his attorney called, they came to whatever was discussed between them. That's why they went to the actual court house and they got a legal document giving that person guardianship of Azriel.
So they
And
actually went to the
they
courthouse.
got the affidavit, it got notarized and everything. So the first thing we know about was the handwritten letter. But that
Yes,
was the first time. But when he sent her back and brought her back again when she flew back, that's when they actually had a legal document.
mm, mm-hmm.
Not only that, at that same time, the mother took her out of school and enrolled her into online
Oh
schooling.
my, yeah,
So my thing is, why does all of that need to take place just for her to make an album, make a song?
exactly. Why?
If
It's
you did not feel that there was something that they were in a relationship and that you led him to want to be in a relationship with your daughter for whatever other reason, why would you send her back? Because why would he send her back because she was 17?
exactly. Hmm.
So I think people need to ask those type of questions. Like you really got to put yourself in that situation and be like, hold on, that's not how that would have worked.
No, no. Especially if he knew that she was 17, sent her back, and she's said in
And
several times,
let's make sure everybody. This is what she testified to.
yeah, this is her
She said this
testimony.
under oath during her testimony. This is not something that anybody else said happened. This is what she testified to.
Yeah. And then I mean, we can get to the you can later on get to the fact that her mom drove her hours to go meet Rob. I'm trying to find that part, but yeah.
That, so let's see. So when she went back,
And then she
Wait,
have
wait,
her.
wait. It says right here, and she said, even though this is part of her testimony, guys, even though I wanted to have sex with him and actually hinted toward that a few times, I backed up from it because he was not showing the same interest. And I told mom that on several occasions, but she kept on pushing me, just trying to make me have some type of sexual relationship with him. And the more that happened, the more I started feeling like a hoe because I started realizing that my own parents were just using me and my vagina to get money from R. Kelly. And when it finally hit me hard, it broke my heart into pieces. And I decided that day that while I was in Chicago to tell him the truth, even though I was scared that he might not want me to be around me again, it was something I knew I had to do because I felt really nasty on the inside. I also realized that at that moment is that I'm nothing like my mom and pops. So I told him I was 17, how my parents convinced me to tell him I was 18. He was mad for one because he was not mad about it for once because we hadn't done anything sexually, but he did tell me I had to go home right away, and I cried so bad, and the only reason he was able to calm me down was by telling me that I could possibly be there in Chicago and that my parents were my parents, that if her parents came up there with her. So, long story short, she says, I told mom and pops that, and they didn't even hesitate. They took me to Florida Education Department to get me pulled out of school and enrolled me onto online school. They took me to the county clerk's office, got the consent form signed and notarized by the state of Florida, which said they give their parental rights away for me to be in Chicago. And I remember being mad and happy at the same time.
and when Azriel was telling that part, she was really upset because she said that she wanted to be able to experience college like you know, any other person once they graduate high school. She wanted to have that college experience, but that was taken away from her because her mother threw away all of her scholarships once she transferred her to an online school.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention. The only time we seen those two together was when they took those family pictures. We have
Yep.
not seen them together since.
Mm-hmm. And she also says in her diary, and the reason why she was mad was because I was saying to myself, what kind of parents would sign their 17-year-old daughter away to be in Chicago by herself with someone that they never met or even got to know? And the reason why I was happy because honestly, by that time, even though Rob didn't know, but I had fallen in love with him and wanted to be around him. he so at this point they weren't even having sex, according to her, right?
Right. So, but early in her testimony, she said that they had sex the very first time she met.
At the hotel where her parents were waiting
Right.
downstairs.
Right.
Can y'all kind of go into detail as to what happened during that actual hotel incident when her mom had been texting Rob and she went to the hotel and the security was called? Do you remember the testimony in court?
Yeah, I'll just sum it up. She had went to the hotel room, and this is according to her testimony. She went into the hotel room and was dancing for him, and they started having sex.
That's what she
And
said.
yeah, and then the police came to the door, and Rob said, "Are you said you was 18, right?" And then she said, "Yeah." And then he had the police to talk to her, and she told the police that she was 18, and the police said that okay, let me see your ID, and she showed him her ID, and they said okay, and then she called her mama, and her mama said okay, everything cool, and
But
then
mhm.
the police
But what is
left.
but what is this about the first time they had sex? It was she remember the hotel was by a fireplace or something.
Right. So, okay. So number one, it wasn't the police; it was hotel security. So what happened was, once they got upstairs, she said Rob told her to go into
Wait a minute,
the
so wait,
bathroom. Right.
it wasn't the police.
I thought it was the hotel security.
Mm.
I thought it
Let,
was the hotel. What
let
she
me I
got
can
the
go back and look and
yeah.
see.
Check see what that was, and I feel like it would have been hotel security and not the police, because police probably would have investigated a little bit more, and the hotel security would have documented it, and that would have been enough for them to use to hold against Rob to try to set him up if that's what they were trying to do.
Hmm.
But I believe in the hotel they were supposed to have had oral sex.
That was what they did.
I believe so.
Hmm.
Okay, spitting fire say the police.
So it was the police. The transcript said the police.
That's
But
what I
Sylvia say
remember.
hotel security. See, I thought it was. I think it wasn't the police. It was hotel security. Because when the hotel security got up there, they asked her who she was. She said who she was. They asked was she 18 and if she had ID. She showed them, and then they said, "Well, get your mom and dad on the phone." She called. They were waiting downstairs. They asked the mother, "Is she 18?" And the mother said, "Yes, she is." And then they left the room.
So that's so the dad is the only one. Oh, I'm looking. It's the police. Okay, police was downstairs, and the police said that she was 18 in the press
But
conference.
you got to think about it. If you at a hotel and the police get
Spitting
called,
fire,
hotel
spitting fire,
security gonna come too.
spitting fire said Bonjean Motion states the police as well.
Yeah, both from it's the whole. It was the whole. I'm pretty sure it was the hotel security that had came upstairs. It's their establishment. So if something like that happens, that's what you have hotel security for. Whether they accompanied the police upstairs or they went up there first, the hotel security did go upstairs.
So it may have been both.
Yeah,
Let me just
either
double.
one, but I would have think that the hotel would have went up there as well, because the hotel security would have been the one to call the police too.
Okay. Yeah, and the dad said he went through the back
If
door.
Because think about it, had it been the police, that would have been a report number, and the prosecution would have used that.
So who did there was a press conference. Do you guys remember that? That there was a press conference that was it the press conference that the police did or
Say that again.
there was a there was a press conference. that was downstairs.
Only time I remember a press conference that the police did, I think it was in Georgia, and in Detroit.
So 312 is saying yes, it was hotel security because one of them gave their card, told Rob to let them
Yeah,
know
yep,
if he
yep. Three
needed
one two.
anything.
They sure did. They gave Rob they private call and said if you ever in town and need some personal security, let us know.
I'm trying to find that one. One moment, because in that one that didn't have that I was just reading, it didn't have
Yeah,
the very,
that's somewhere in those transcripts.
yeah, I'm looking now. It didn't have the very first part of her testimony. Let me see. 1 second, guys. Oh, okay. Let's see if this is it. Do y'all have any questions? Yeah, Anthony, they did tell the police that she was 18. If the mom wants to explore it, it would be evidence. Maybe somebody is lying. I'm looking, guys. The very first part of her testimony.
Yeah, half the chest saying police, half the chest saying hotel security.
Well, we can look. Hold on.
Do
Okay.
we got to spend a lot of time worrying about that? Because at the end of the day,
No.
whether it was the hotel security or the police, either way, some type of authority figure came up to there, her fake ID and the parents lied and said that she was 18, and that's why she wasn't removed from that room. That's the whole point. At that point in time, she was lying about her age even then. Just like
Mhm.
Geronda went into a whole courthouse and sat during a whole trial and lied about her age. It can get past anybody, but what we know is they were lying. Why were you lying if all you wanted was a song made with this man? If all you
Exactly.
wanted was some help from him to make a song, what was the reason for the lies?
Exactly. What was the purpose of the line?
And then let's not forget she also said when she went to school she was dressed in baggy clothes because she had some type of after school event that she was attending, but her mother texted her and specified what she was to wear when she met Rob at that hotel.
Yeah, I'm getting to the hotel. Hold on. I'm just going down. And in court, what do you remember her testimony being?
Um,
For
Hold on just a sec. Yeah. So we just need to appeal court to use law and common sense. If it was actual officers, they should have a police report to prove it. That is true. Good question. Good statement. Was there an actual police report?
there wasn't.
no police report. No.
No police report, huh?
Then none of the women had any police reports that took the stand. There were police investigations, but they found no fault in it.
Mm-hmm. Looking, guys. Okay, so does anybody in the chat have any questions in reference to this? It may be a police report that proves she was 18, but the government won't show it because it helps the defense. The question remains: can any of them sing?
Rashana could sing. Um, Azriel got some type of talent, but it's not there. She just doesn't have that it factor.
Even if the police come and they don't have to make a police report, it will still be somewhere documented that they was called to that scene by the parents because their child was they was afraid their child was in a hotel room with the a older man. It'll be documented somewhere anytime they come out to anywhere that they can attorneys can go back and get that. The reason the prosecution did not bring that up is because they knew if they put that paperwork in there, somewhere somebody gonna say, "Oh, she said she was 18."
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, she did not leave that room, and that's what we know from her.
Yes.
So whether it was the police or the security guards or Obama, why she didn't leave that room? Because they were told she was 18 years old. That was the first. That should have been honestly the first sign that it was a problem. To me, I think they would have called hotel security because they didn't want him arrested. They wanted it documented in some type of way that they thought that they was gonna come up there and catch him in a compromising position and be able to use that to set him up.
Gotcha.
If he locked up, you call the police and they lock him up. What that's gonna do? You ain't finna get nothing. He going to jail. They
Yeah.
didn't want any. They didn't want to press charges. Nobody pressed charges. Everybody just wanted a check.
Exactly. So, question was the interview with Azrael and her father ever shown to the jury?
Yes, yes, and the prosecution was trying so hard not to have it shown to the jury, but it was ended up showing to the jury.
Rob actually cried when they did that part.
He cried.
Uh huh. Yep. Listening to her on that clip, he did. And not only that, what was I going to say about that? That's when the judge had said that she was going to offer the suggestion of impeaching Azriel's testimony because it was too inconsistent. That's when
Yeah,
that was brought into play.
that was all a fluke.
Gotcha.
But
So
she
that's
she left it up to the jury to and that was said outside of the jury. So the jury didn't hear her say that. But they had the when they got the jury instructions, that was an option for them to impeach her testimony.
um okay. So the it was left up to the jury to decide if they were going to believe her or not. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying? Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, but
Okay.
I believe they already had their mind made up anyway going into the trailer.
So Linda Alexander said, I sent that clip to Kim Fox, TMZ, and the FBI in Washington, D.C., where Tim Savage was telling Cash Jones that he knew Lifetime knew these women were lying. Did you ever get a response back, Linda? He cried because he was in shock. Her, out of all people, flipped.
Yeah, he cried during that time, and he cried when Rashana Mama was on the stand in Chicago.
Says, I'm going to compare this live to all the interviews Hips did about the initial meeting. R. Kelly's in jail for his morals. That's it. AC did the ultimate betrayal. Yeah. So Dottie, so when and also Daddy Lola, when she was testifying, what part uh, what part of her testimony actually the judge had a sidebar or whatever where she considered impeachment? Was it because of what was the reason why? Do you guys know? Or
Give
what
me.
part?
I'm going back on these notes to tell you exactly why I don't.
Okay.
Lord, if you want to answer that,
Yeah,
you can. While I'm looking
I'm
back on
not
it.
too sure on why. But I just know she's doing a whole lot of sidebars when
During her
Azriel was up there.
testimony?
Yeah, during the testimony, she was calling for sidebars.
I
No,
also
I know what it was. It was because when she first did her interview, when Rob was first arrested, and the feds came and interviewed her, she gave her account of what happened, what was going on, what the situation was. Then when she interviewed with the state's attorneys and etc., she said something else. Then when she
okay,
got on the stand, she said a different story. So, and they were going back and comparing what she was saying during all these different times. And
gotcha.
then they showed precedents where she said something totally different. So that was all the inconsistencies. There was never one answer. Anytime you asked her, the answer changed.
Got it. Got it. And so, Perspective Media says, don't forget about her mom drove her 4 hours in the middle of the night and then wanted her own room when they got to wherever they were going.
Yeah, then I remember something like that when she said her mama drove there and they got there at 3 o'clock. Her mama had her own room,
Trying to find that.
and she told Azriel to go to Rob's room.
I'm looking for it, honey. Let me see. So I can actually read.
So that would have been Diana Copeland. That would have been in her testimony.
That would have been Diana's.
Yeah, because she's the one who said that. So she said when they arrived, she had a room and she was willing to give that room to Azriel and her mom. But her mom insisted on having her own room and Azriel going in the room with
With
Rob.
God.
So yeah, you'll find that under Diana Copeland's testimony.
So, anybody in here that's a parent of a daughter, son, it doesn't even matter. How many of you would tell your 17, whatever year old daughter, son, to go and be with this grown ass man and drive them 4 hours to see him? Not very many.
I wouldn't.
Not very many. I have granddaughters, and I don't think that I would by any means. If it was my daughter,
I
I'm
wouldn't
telling
even
you,
drive my daughter. She 18. I wouldn't even drive her 4 hours to go be with another 18-year-old boy.
let alone. Okay, I'm trying to
I'm
find
not
it.
even sure I'm gonna drive 4 hours in the middle of the night after I just did a whole long show somewhere else.
Gotcha.
I can't even say that I'll do that for myself. Like, really?
I'm looking, guys.
And then
And
keep in mind, they was already in contact with Rob. So they didn't have to drive there because she was already sending videos of her performances to him. They were already texting and talking. So this is between the time when the mom was on the iPad pretending to be her. So they
how
didn't
long did she
necessarily
do
have
that?
to drive.
Yeah,
Huh?
how long did she actually
She was
start?
communicating with Robert for like 3 weeks. Azriel said that she went and got her iPad, and that's when she learned that her mom had been pretending to be her and communicating with Rob.
That was her testimony, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm looking right now with Miss Jane Doe number 5. And as you guys can see, I don't know how many people, and I'm sure most of you guys have seen the actual clip from the what's it called? Surviving R. Kelly Part 3, the final avert. What is it called? I don't remember, but
The final
uh,
chapters.
the final chapter. How in the preview, it looks to me like this person, Miss Clary, Azrael Clary, is going to be a highlighted person. So I think Dottie's point in doing this was to, and I don't know if at another time we want to go ahead and read the whole entire um transcript from her and how she was lying, and even go back to the fact that, when, the hotel and all of that kind of stuff. Um, I think the public just needs to know that there is too many inconsistencies and doubts, for this star witness to be. And I can go over her verdict sheet. The verdict sheet, they, she's part of the reason why. I mean, he was convicted on more counts for her than anybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they needed her in order for Rico to stick because it needed something within the last 10 years. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so enough on this chick. Well, I mean, we can talk about her all day long because she was with him. She was the last person basically that was her, and Joy was the last two that was
So
with him.
let me say this though. I'm sorry before you get off of that. I just found the part in here, in her testimony too, where she says, now this is the prosecution redirecting after Kanik had cross-examined her. So they say, you were asked about whether your mother had told you to take as many photographs as you possibly could of you and the defendant together and to include crazy face ones kissing because she felt that your mother wanted to exploit Mr. Kelly in the media and take advantage of his finances. Do you recall those questions? She said, yes, I do. And when you were asked those questions, you told the defense counsel that that wasn't true. Can you explain what you meant by that? She says, my mother asked me to send those pictures of me and the defendant. However, the defendant had added on that she wanted to do that in order to exploit him. So when you were
So
asked
that's another
to take
lie.
the photographs of you and the defendant, she never told you that it was for the purpose of exploiting the defendant, did she? Then there was an objection. And Azriel says, correct. But at the end of the day, what else would she want these pictures for if all you supposed to be out there doing with him is making a song? I want to see some pictures of the lyrics. I want to see some pictures of you in the studio in somebody's sound booth or something. I'm not going to ask you to send no pictures with you making crazy faces kissing on him. That don't even make sense.
No, it makes no sense at all. But they're going to portray, even in all the
But
surviving
this
R.
is what
Kelly.
she said, and this
Yeah,
is what she testified to.
exactly. And so, Dottie, what I'm saying, and another point to that is, on every surviving R. Kelly, they mention the fact that their daughter was kidnapped and this and that and abused or whatever. So why in the hell, if your child is, back to what you were saying, if she was supposed to be going to do music and only that, why would you be asking her to do all that stuff?
And this is after he sent her back when he found out her age.
Yeah.
She says Robert told her they're trying to exploit me.
Oh.
She
So
said the same thing in the Gayle King interview too.
See, the Gayle King interview to me was all truth.
all truth.
She was telling the truth at the end. That was before the government had got a hold to her. The surviving R. Kelly was her truth. I don't believe she lied at all in that.
You mean the Gayle King interview?
The Gayle King, yeah.
So then they said, and who gave you the idea that this was for the purpose of exploiting the defendant? She says the defendant. Then they asked, and by the way, did you take certain photographs of yourself and the defendant together? Yes, I did.
Wow.
Did you ever provide those to the media? Some of them, yes, I did.
Mm.
Hold on 1 second. Oh, God. Let me scroll down.
Yeah, Lele, if she was supposed to be there for the music, why was none of her parents ever present? So the dad, I can remember distinctly, Angelo Clary saying that the reason why they allowed her was because they wanted her to get familiar with the tour life and what it was like to be a musician and to so that's why they allowed her and signed her over to him, to Sony, as he keeps saying, was because they wanted her to have that experience of how it was to be touring. Is that not what he said?
That's what he said.
I've heard it several times on different platforms of him saying that. I've heard it actually on live TV, him telling that lie.
Well, what about even when you say like visiting? The sister said that she went out there and she visited. She was flown out there. They said
Yes.
the mother was flown out there several times. Let's just get to the part where she said that when in the last Surviving R. Kelly, the very first one, they sitting there throwing rocks at a house at a window where they knew she wasn't even at.
It
Yeah,
was said.
he Angelo said that too. That he knew that she wasn't there. They just did it for the cameras.
Huh? What did you say that again?
When they was throwing rocks at the window on
Oh
Surviving
yeah,
R. Kelly,
yeah.
Angelo went on his live and said that he knew that she wasn't there. They was doing it for the cameras.
Hey
And so,
Sylvia. So Sylvia is saying on page 793, line 7, about the security dated 8/23/21 for reference. Thank you, Sylvia.
um, again, I want to say this: everything that we saying, even if it's against her, okay, yes, but it's what came out of her mouth.
This is her mouth.
This is what she said under oath in a New York trial.
Gotcha.
So we're not, taking nothing out of context. We're reading it directly from the transcripts. I have my notes and my memory from being there. So
Hmm.
everything was said out of her mouth.
Yeah. What was the
And
time frame between our
Spin Fire said page 108,
on the 8/24?
824,
Yeah.
So
line
yeah,
5.
spin fire. Let's keep in mind too, in the transcripts when Faith said that she got the herpes from Rob, but she had actually told a detective in a police report that she found that she had herpes from a totally different year that's in the transcripts.
2013.
So they mess this stuff up all the time, and I'm pretty sure it was the hotel security, but that's not neither here nor there because at the end of the day, if she had told them that she was 17 and if Rob knew that she was 17, she wouldn't have been in that hotel room. They would not have left her in that hotel room with him. So that
Yeah.
was lie number one.
Yep. Lie number one. This is what started the whole lie, was that hotel meeting with the security, police, or whatever. That was lie number one. This is what started this is how their relationship began. If she was underage, why did the police, security, or whatever leave her? And also somebody asked the question, what was the time frame between R. Kelly finding her real age and Azriel Clary going to the Grammys, and how did she get to the Grammys?
Grammys.
I don't
She went
right
when did
spitting fire.
when did she go to the Grammys?
I don't remember her going to the Grammys. But he found out her real age. Um,
In October, August or September or something like that.
Right, it was around August. And the reason she said, now this is her testimony. She said that they were at Lincoln Park. They were all having a picnic, her, Rob, and the other girlfriends. And they were sitting there. And she said at that time, she decided to tell him the truth about her age because school was about to start and she needed to get back to Florida. So she said when she told him, he slapped her. And when he slapped her, she said because he had never been violent towards her or had done anything like that to her before. And she was so embarrassed because he did it in front of the other girls, she ran off. So when she ran off, she said that she could see him in his sprinter circling around trying to find her. So she would hide from the sprinter. But she said at some point it was getting dark. She wasn't from Chicago. She didn't know the area. So she came out so he could see her. As soon as she got back on the sprinter, he kissed her on the forehead and told her, "Don't worry, we'll figure this out." The next morning, he had her sent back to Florida. His attorneys was in contact with the parents. A few days later, she was on her way back to Chicago. So now we know not only did they send her back, but they also had his attorney information that they could have contacted if they felt something wasn't right.
Exactly.
They had numerous people's contact information. But I'm still stuck on, if she is there to make music, why would he send her back when he find out her age?
Exactly.
So if you're under 18, 17, you're not allowed to make music. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And I guess another thing too is what is the age of consent in Chicago?
17.
17.
Okay. So if she's living in Chicago, why would she need a letter?
I guess she wasn't a resident of Chicago until after the letter got finalized through the court system.
Okay.
But not only that, she's not in one place with him. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be a tour.
Yes.
So it's for his protection as well. Because
Gotcha.
obviously, and
Where's the jury after all
I
this
would
time?
think if an emergency or something was to occur and they were in a different city, somebody had to take, they had to show that they could speak for her or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Just a question I was throwing out there to open people's minds up to.
Felicia said, why did he let her come back? He was listening to his attorney. Whatever his attorney said, if I'm not mistaken, Lolo, correct me if I'm wrong. She said that the attorney had called him and told him, Rob, let her come back and finish working on whatever you guys were doing. But for your protection, her parents is going to get that letter.
Mm.
And I just thought about another thing dealing with the ID. When Diane Copeland said when she would book the flights that everybody was 18. So she had to put down that Azriel was 18. In order for Azriel to go through the security at the airport, she had to show her ID to match her ticket.
And then not only that, Diana Copeland said that when she was in Vegas, so she got to Vegas and they seen Azriel in the lobby, and she said she looked at her and said, Rob, how old is she? And Rob said she's 18. She's about to go to college.
Right.
Someone said, where's the proof that she ever told him her real age? She said R. Kelly attorneys gave her the green light. Why wasn't the attorneys called in the case? The letter was fake. It had no notary on it.
Okay, so part one to that sweet one. The proof that we have is just her testimony. So that's what we're going off, that she said that she told him.
Yeah.
So, and then she said
testimony that Judge Ann Donnelly wanted to be impeached.
Well, at some point he had to know, because he would keep her away from the show. She wasn't allowed to go to some of the shows that he was performing at because she still had homework to do. She wasn't getting caught up on her homework, so he would make her stay back.
Exactly.
So that's number two. And then you said, wait, she said R. Kelly's attorneys gave her the green light. Oh, you're meaning when the attorney talked to the parents? Why wasn't the attorneys called in this case? I'm not sure. I can't answer why they wasn't called.
Why wasn't the parents called into the case?
The letter was fake. It had no notary on it. That first letter, but then they went back and they got a legal document for her. Let me see. And that was submitted into evidence too, so I'm sure it exhibits somebody in here.
Yeah, I think he was going somewhere And you said, I think it was in one of the text messages or something, where with his assistant or whatever, that she had to stay back because she hadn't finished her homework, and then the next
Right.
day or
Yeah.
something he flew them out.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not sure. That might have been Diana Copeland and actually one of the Mayweather twins said that.
Dottie, who is in the Mann Act charge? Okay, I
I
can
was
tell you who is in the Mann Act charge. Let me tell you what the verdict sheet. I'll read it to you guys. Okay, so the verdict sheet is, as of count one, and we know who count one is, right? Guilty of racketeering. Racketeering Act 1, bribery. Racketeering Act 2, sexual exploitation of a child with Stephanie. Racketeering Act 3, kidnapping of Sonia, not proved, so he was not convicted of that. Racketeering Act 4, the Mann Act violation of Sonia, was not proved. Not proved for coercion and enticement for Sonia. And it says Racketeering Act 5, Mann Act violation for Geronda, it was proved. Racketeering Act 6, forced labor with Geronda, proved. Racketeering Act 7, sexual exploitation of a child, Geronda, proved. Racketeering Act 8, Mann Act violation for Jane, which is who we're talking about. What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 8, transportation, proved? What is the verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 8, coercion or enticement, proved? Racketeering 8, Mann Act Jane, which is Azriel Clary. What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 9, which is transportation, proved? What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering 8, Act 9B, coercion or enticement, proved? What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 9C, coercion or enticement of a minor, proved? What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 9D, transportation, proved? And all those are with Jane that I just read. Racketeering Act 10, sexual exploitation of a child, Jane, proved. Racketeering Act 11, forced labor, Jane, proved. Racketeering Act 12, Mann Act violation, Faith. What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 12A, transportation, proved? What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 12B, coercion or enticement, proved? It says if you answer proved or either racket on as to either Racketeering Act 12A or 12B or both, please answer the following questions. Please indicate which of the statutes the sexual activity violated. And they check both for reckless endangerment and knowingly exposure of infectious venereal disease. Racketeering Act 13, forced labor, Faith, proved. Racketeering Act 14, Mann Act, Faith. What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 14A, proved? What is your verdict with respect to Racketeering Act 14B, proved? If you answer prove to as to either Racketeering Act 14A or B or both, please answer the following. Please indicate which of the statutes the sexual activity violated. And it was reckless endangerment and knowingly exposure of infectious venereal disease. As to count 2, Mann Act transportation, how do you find a defendant? I'm gonna go back to that. As to count 2, Mann Act transportation of Jane, guilty. As to count 3, Mann Act coercion and enticement, Jane, guilty. As to count 4, Mann Act coercion of minor, Jane, guilty. As to count 5, Mann Act transportation of minor, Jane, guilty. As to count 6, Mann Act transportation of Faith, guilty. As to count 7, Mann Act coercion and enticement of Faith, guilty. As to count 8, Mann Act transportation of Faith, guilty. As to count 9, Mann Act coercion and enticement of Faith, guilty. And that's it.
You know what
I'm
that
gonna go back to
says?
some of these questions. Hold on, go back. You guys scroll back up because we missed a couple of questions.
Okay.
So basically, when it came to Geronda and Jane, that's who he was convicted of with the Mann Act, right?
Yes.
And maybe
And
Faith
faith.
and
And
Faith,
Faith.
right?
Yes.
So those three.
Yes.
Somebody said, why wasn't, so when Bubba, I'm, the only thing that I know is that when Geronda took the stand and Panic was cross-examining her, he asked something that he asked her something, and okay, because the telephone calls that was made, she was calling Bubba's phone. She wasn't calling Rob's phone.
And
So
this is
Panic,
Geronda, right?
this is Geronda. So
Okay.
Panic made the statement because Bubba was your lover, right? And the judge, there was an objection, and the judge told Kanik that I guess Bubba was not allowed to be mentioned, that part of
Mhm.
it. For what reason, I don't know.
Yeah. So
But that
Bubba
was
was the Judge Donnelly said no, Bubba couldn't be brought into the equation. If
right.
he was brought into the equation, there is actual proof that Bubba was the one that brought Geronda and many other people, and she possibly was having a relationship with Bubba and Dominique, right?
Yeah. And just so you guys know, Bubba also is
Is
the
that
one that brought in Haley. He introduced her to Rob.
he brought in Haley? He brought in Geronda, and there's no telling who else, right?
Right. She was in contact with him. He did her tattoos. So,
Yeah.
okay. So I guess we're going. So we said if there's any other questions about Azrael, you can put them in the chat. But
Yeah. Any other questions about
yeah,
Az?
I agree. He
Well,
should have been brought into that equation. So let's just okay. Let's since we're talking about Bubba, let's go to Geronda.
yeah. So what does it say? Why didn't Bubba be brought into the equation?
It would be in these. I'm going through the transcripts right now, but I know when Kanik blurted that out to Geronda, there was an objection, and the judge was pissed. I'm just gonna say she
He's
was
mad.
pissed off. He said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go to page 26 while you look for that. And this is actually if we're going to Geronda.
I feel like Rob was very adamant that he never slept with Geronda.
He was?
I feel like because he never looked at any of the witnesses. You know what I'm saying? Except, and he never really showed too much emotion. Except when he did, you can tell the ones he probably had a relationship and really cared for because he cried during certain things. But I feel like when Geronda was up there, I feel like he was just like shaking his head, like, no, that's not true.
Mm. Okay. Let's see.
Okay, she says,
Oh, here's Bubba. Let me see. So this is whose statement is this? You're looking okay. So I'm gonna just let me look real quick as far as
Oh,
Geronda.
Rodney Williams said in transcript that JP say where he took her across state lines. He didn't take her across state lines.
I didn't see anywhere.
No,
There was only like
Geronda didn't get taken across state lines. They saying that because a telephone was used.
yes, but there was only like a 6 month engagement. There was like only a 6 months or so that she was even around him or Bubba or whomever. I think actually from the government's final
thank you,
their
Sylvia.
response, huh? Yeah.
She's telling me where to go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, she's telling you where to go.
Yeah,
Oh,
to find
okay,
out about
okay.
Bubba.
Bubba dated Geronda, not my brother. Yeah, Bubba dated Geronda. It was not. It was not Rob. And as you say, Dottie, that when she was testifying, that was probably the only time he had some type of reaction.
Well, in New York.
In New York, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
In New York.
Chicago was a little bit different.
Yeah, in New York. She didn't testify in Chicago, did she?
No.
No.
Uh, as soon as I got to where Sylvia was sending me, it took me out.
So the reason why he was convicted of her, he used a Canon camera as well as an Apple iPhone.
Convicted of who?
Geronda. That's the state law.
Oh, yeah, yeah, but that wasn't. They didn't bring that into evidence. There was no proof of that.
No.
Yeah, there was no
They
video.
brought it up because they're mentioning it in here in this argument or this response that was one of the reasons why, because it says Geronda was born in 93. Her first encounter with Kelly was when she attended his court proceeding in Chicago in 2008. Um, in May, shortly after, when she turned 16, a close associate, Bubba, which is Jermaine Maxey, invited Geronda. Bubba invited her to attend a party at Kelly's residence in Olympia Fields. At the party, Geronda told Kelly that she was 19 years old when
She had to show ID to get in that party too.
Yeah, at the party, Geronda told Kelly she was 19 years old when she was in fact 16. This is the state saying that Kelly and her exchanged telephone numbers and began communicating. Um, Kelly met her there. Blah, blah. So
She was reluctant to tell that the reason she was able to take Dominique to Olympia Fields with her is because her and Dominique were actually lovers at first.
yeah, it says right here, during the 6 months that Geronda spent with Kelly, she supposedly continued to engage in sexual intercourse with him. Geronda told Kelly he arranged for something about a doctor to give her medication. At Kelly's request, Geronda put Kelly in touch with Dominique, who was 17 years old, and they met at some type of fan group supporting Kelly.
Yeah, on MySpace. And Geronda's ex best friend came out and said that too. That she had showed a fake ID to Rob.
Mm.
Rob
Okay,
actually
so
checked the
Judith
ID
says,
himself, and
you say,
the ID showed that she was of age.
no,
When she got to his house, I'm talking about for the
no.
house party.
Remember the best friend, the one who actually came to New York to testify, but she was not called to the stand. She was going to testify. She was actually with Geronda when Geronda
Right.
met
Yes.
Rob.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she went to the house when Bubba invited them to come to the party at the house.
Yes.
When they got there, she said Rob asked for ID. She was 23, so she showed her ID. Geronda told Rob, I don't have mine. I left it at my uncle's house. So
Yeah.
he made her leave. And she was supposed to go back and get the ID, but the girl said Geronda had never came back. And when she found out that she was hanging out at Rob's house, she was surprised because he wouldn't let her in that night. And she
And
said
let me
when she got in there, they had, she said they was partying and everything. And at a certain time, I guess it was freaky hour or whatever, he said, listen, this is what's finna go down. If you want to hang and stay, you can stay. But if you don't, you can leave. And she said she just wasn't with it. So she left.
So let me ask you guys this too. I've always had the question in my mind. Did anyone, because supposedly Geronda said when she finally escaped from Rob, she went to her uncle's house. Has anybody did the government or whoever check to see, did she actually have an uncle that lived in that neighborhood?
It never came up about
No.
that she
But
like there
the
was like
best
no
friend,
proof besides of the testimony.
right? Because remember the best friend, because she said Geronda had even lied to her. She said she thought Geronda was 19 as well. She didn't know that she was that age because she had made Geronda her child's godmother.
Exactly.
So she
Exactly.
was like, when she found this out, she was just like, what the heck? And then she would start seeing Geronda with a lot of money. And she asked her, where did you get out? Where you getting this money from? And she first told her it was from her insurance claim.
And
Hmm.
she also said that Geronda Mama also knew about it, about her lying.
Yeah, but I've always wondered how did anyone check to see if she actually had an uncle that lived in that neighborhood? And also, when that break-in, when she supposedly took the pictures and used a T-shirt, supposedly had a T-shirt with Rob Seaman on it. That could have been a T-shirt that was laying around anywhere in his house
that
that
she
she put.
took. Now, if you got so under her own admission,
That could have been Dominique's shirt.
under her own admission, she said that her and Dominique circled this man's house for 5 hours at one time. Then she said they would go to that house hundreds of times. Here she says we ran through his gate. And when you say you ran through his gate, what are you referring to? Rob's gate. And who went through the defendant's gate? Dominique and I. Why? Why were you running through the defendant's gate? It was just something childish we decided to do. The Anthony Navarro, he was one of the guys that was at the house because keep in mind, Robert was not there. I believe at this time he was in Africa.
Yes,
That tour in
Yeah.
Africa. So
he
he
was
was
in
not
Africa.
there.
Yes,
Anthony Navarro testified that he seen them coming through that gate and going into that house. So they went in through what would be the studio side of the house.
yes,
That's how she got in there to take those pictures. And Kenny made a good point. If you want to say that you were in his house, but you had to wear sweats and you had to dress like this, why in this picture are you wearing capris and heels? And you have your
exactly.
phone.
Mm-hmm.
This was the time she had broke in. So if you got the balls to break into this man's house, why
Yes,
should we believe that you wouldn't steal some shit while you in there?
exactly. And so you know, I mean, not to be graphic or whatever, but to get a T-shirt with a man's semen on it in a house, it's probably not hard. Do you understand what I'm saying? Without being graphic, like maybe he had intercourse with someone else and wiped himself, and it was just on the floor, hadn't done laundry or whatever.
Being that Dominique did stay there because she said she testified later that she found out, and I believe that's what caused the rift in their friendship, is because Rob would not allow Geronda back at the house, but he allowed Dominique to stay there.
Exactly.
That's what caused the rift in their relationship. Because at this
Yes.
time, her and Dominique was having a relationship.
Exactly. They have tattoos, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And there, it wasn't even proven that it was semen on there. Mm, okay. So if it
You
wasn't
know what
proven,
was Geronda proof that they
what?
use as her proof? A journal.
A journal.
A
Hmm.
journal.
That was all the proof that they used to determine that they had some type of sexual relationship. Was it even proven that she had an STD? Did they have medical records? Did they have any of that stuff in court?
No.
She says they were actually okay, they hold on one second. Let me just please don't let me lose this page. Hold on.
Which one are you
So
reading, Dottie?
Geronda.
On what? Which?
I'm on
What
page
page?
147.
Okay.
So it says when you ran through the gate, she said when we ran through the gate, we actually got caught by who? Bubba. Is that the Bubba who first invited you to the defendant's house? Yes, it is. And what happened when you were caught? Once we were caught, Bubba came out and oh shoot. Hold on, y'all. Do you see where I'm at?
What page? I'm looking now.
148.
Let
So
me
then
see.
she says, once we were caught, Bubba had came out and he asked us, why did we run through the gate? And we didn't have an answer. And he called Rob. And then I asked, well, I told Bubba that I had some heels that I had left in there.
Oh,
And they said, are you referring to shoes? Yes. So do we see the pattern in her lies?
yep.
So this is the same thing that she said, oh, I left some shoes, and so I had to go get some shoes, and that's when I escaped and went to what Rob say, I'm gonna let you out to go get some shoes from your uncle's house. To see the pattern, the lie is not
Yeah.
changing. And she just telling it, she just putting the same lie in different parts of her story.
Hmm. I'm wondering if they're going to speak about her in this new Surviving the Lies. I'm sure. I'm trying to find that, Dottie, so that I can read some of it. One moment.
And let me add, like, I'm just gonna put this out there.
Go ahead.
If you had already been invited to this man's house, you already have his phone number, you in contact with him, so you already have something established where he knows you, you know him. What would be the fucking point of you breaking into his house?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you just wait till he came? I mean, you ain't gonna see him. So
Good
why wouldn't you
question.
just wait until he was home? You was there before. You left shoes at his house. That don't even make sense.
Mm-mm. And she sued him um
3 times
3 times. She Bubba received money from that, right?
from what she say.
From according to her testimony. And also she tried to give Rob money.
She tried to get Rob. No, I think he countersued.
She gave him. She was giving it back to him. I think she
Exactly.
sued him like 3 times. She gave it back, sued him again. I think she said the reason why she was giving it back is because he wasn't in contact with her and she wanted to talk to him or something, and she felt bad. It should
This
be on
sounds
here.
so freaking crazy.
Yeah, it should be. Let me see.
What date is that? 8/31? Or no, that's not her testimony.
Um, 8/18.
8/18. I have it somewhere. I don't know why I can't find it. I had all.
Okay, so they say who kept paying her. So she was going through Susan Loggins, and then she even turned around and sued Susan Loggins, her own attorney.
And we never did find out why she sued him. Her.
I think because she wasn't getting the money.
What page you said again, Dottie? I'm sorry.
149.
I think it was
Well, it started at
because
147.
Susan August wasn't giving her the money or something when she said she was gonna get it or whatever.
Maybe I wasn't there for the results. It was done during the crucial hearing. What is Lee saying? It matched a T-shirt from that far back. I can't match with Lifetime even after Rob's vindicated. Okay.
I'm looking for quite a while.
It was said in the video, we pay people to lie. Paid by who? Follow the paper trail. Yes.
What?
They tested Rob's DNA that came in and swabbed him at court.
I was actually sitting. I was sitting right next to the detectives when they came in. Once we finished court that day, they actually had said that the officers was there to take the DNA, and they tried to object to it because Koenig said he had no knowledge of them coming in there to get his DNA for that. But the judge allowed them to go back and do that testing.
Yes, perspective. That is a good question with all of this stuff. And if y'all read Rob's letter that he recently released, I don't know if it's been authenticated or not yet, and I'm sure it has, but that was one of the statements that he said in there. Why did no one call 911?
To do
Like,
what? On themselves?
exactly.
Because
So
they was the only ones doing some illegal shit on themselves.
why wasn't there like a 911 call? Done. So, are you kidding me? She was giving him back his money, yes. When is the next hearing? I think
January 18th.
yes. And what is that one for?
The state case for
Yes.
Chicago.
To see if they're going to dismiss it or not.
Yeah. That's their final thing, right, Dottie? The judge said that's the final thing.
Yeah.
Like he gonna make the decision if they ain't made no decision on their own by
They
then.
he giving them time to there is some possible okay, so what happened was Greenberg said that there may be some more motions he have to draw up because he felt like the Geronda
And
and
Rashana.
Rashana, since he was found guilty in the federal court, those charges should have been dropped in the state court where they wasn't. So he may have to draw up a motion. So that may not be the last hearing for that.
No, Lily, I don't think that there's police reports from Geronda. Um, that's who we're talking about right now. I don't think that there is the only police anything I think in reference to Azrael was the hotel situation. Latrice is the only one that has a police report.
Lanetta.
Benita.
Is that's the hair braider, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. She's in the Chicago State.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lily is the hair braider, and she's in the Chicago State case where they go back to court on January 18th.
I just thought of something like with the Mann Act, like the person who's going across these state lines, they don't even have to be underage. They could be of age, and you going across state lines to have sex, then you can be convicted for a
The
Mann
Man
Act.
Act.
And
Yes.
then this is what I hate because that she actually said in her testimony, the best friend that I was referring to earlier that actually went to the house with Geronda when Rob turned her away. Geronda actually says in her testimony, the only people that she was telling that she was spending time with the defendant was Dominique and Kiana.
Kiana.
She should have definitely been called.
Yep. She was not. Didn't braid his hair as his actual hair braider.
Okay, so we've been on for an hour and a half. Now let's
And
move
Lanita
to
Carter sued. And
who
Lanita Carter
else?
sued him twice.
Lanita Carter sued him twice. Did she win?
I think she collected over
Yeah,
eight hundred
she
thousand
won.
dollars, right?
Yeah,
Lola?
she won both times. She won 250,000 for out of court settlement due to the spitting incident or something. And then she won another 750,000 due to the hair braided video.
Rated R TV says, so how is it he was acquitted in 2008 and he was found not guilty of obstruction of justice? That's what he was that's what the obstruction of justice charge was, a 2008 trial. So in the Chicago federal trial, everything that Lisa Van Allen and Charles Freeman said on the stand, which was related to the 2008 trial, the jury believed absolutely nothing of what they said. So all of those charges he was found not guilty on.
Yes. So it says, let me guess, she used Susan Logan. Are you saying the hair braider girl used Susan Logan?
Yeah,
Logan? Yes,
yeah.
she did. Remember, Susan Logan put up a billboard.
Everybody was going to Susan Logan's. Susan Logan's did is something like if you like what Kim Fox put out, but Susan Logan did it for like lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've been a victim of him or whatever, come see me.
You know how they
She was soliciting victims.
you know how they do those commercials. If you've ever used Johnson and Johnson baby powder, please call such and such and such and such. That's what she basically did. She had commercials and everything, I think, right?
Commercials, billboards. It was in the phone book.
If you've ever had any contact with R. Kelly,
We discussed Jane in the New York federal case. We discussed Geronda. So now since y'all talking about Susan Loggins, let's
Loggins,
go Loggins.
yeah, whatever her name is, hell.
So
Miss
then let's
Ambulance
go.
Tracy.
I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. Let's go over to the Chicago trial.
I'm right there. Okay.
Chicago federal trial. The reason I want to go ahead.
We may not get into this tonight, but I do want to point out that I did see in the advertisement for this new Surviving R. Kelly about Michael Williams. Now that can be another night because Michael Williams is not affiliated with nothing dealing with R. Kelly. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
They
definitely did do that. Show him blowing up the. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. We got to talk about that, and we got the transcripts for that.
Yes, Michael.
So once again, everything that we are saying is coming directly from what happened at court.
Yes.
And what they actually testified to.
Exactly. So we can do it another night, but Michael Williams absolutely has nothing to do with any of Rob's cases.
Let's go over to Demetrius Smith.
Oh my God.
We're going to take it back to the beginning where all this started. Since we're talking about Susan Loggins, because who was sending these people to Susan Loggins? Demetrius Smith.
Mr. Demetrius Smith was sending the people to.
So let's see.
So are we doing 823? You're gonna go over your notes.
Can we kind of summarize what Demetrius said in the okay, because this is the thing. Demetrius testified in the New York State federal trial. Chicago, he did not, but a lot of Durham McDavid's testimony spoke about Demetrius and how a lot of these women came about. So do you want to just touch on what happened in the New York federal trial first?
No, let's just go over your memory. And then I'll go, well, let's see. Smith. Okay. So you're saying Chicago or New York for Demetrius?
For New York.
Okay. It starts off from what I have was his original testimony talking about Aaliyah. Is that where we want or?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is him being questioned by.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just answer this. Rodney Williams. He said, if the obstruction charge was thrown out, shouldn't the whole Chicago federal trial be thrown out? After all, isn't that the reason to bring back the case? So no. Only because only certain parts of that trial was related to the Chicago federal trial. Exactly. The rest was supposedly new evidence, and it was people included in that trial that was not in the Chicago 2008 trial.
Yes.
So that's what the difference is between them. But everything that was related to the 2008 trial outside of Jane and that tape, he was found not guilty of. Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tanya.
No, I'm just gonna start on the part where they were speaking. He was explaining that where Rob was in the middle of a tour, concert, or whatever, and they left. They had to rush to get back to where Leah was, And it says here, Mr. Smith, when we broke on Friday, you were explaining that once you arrive at the hotel with Aaliyah, the defendant, and others, there was an officiant or a preacher there. Do you recall that testimony? Yes, ma'am. I want to get to there, but I want to back up a moment. And she says, okay, do you recall testifying after leaving the defendant's apartment when you went to Chicago, you went to the Sheraton Inn? I think so, yes. Sitting here today, do you recall everyone who was at the Sheraton? He says, I do recall everyone, yes. I know it was me. I know it was Rob. I know it was Aaliyah. I know it was Tyree, the preacher. I'm talking about when you first arrived after leaving and flying to Chicago. So before the marriage license. Before the marriage license, he says, yes. Who was at the hotel? Darren McDavid, Aaliyah. That was it. Was Robert there? Where was Robert? That was the question. He said, yes. The defendant, Robert, was with me. Now, you also previously testified with respect to your suggesting to the group that you can get an ID from a welfare office if you paid cash. Do you recall that testimony? And he says, yes. Do you recall here today as you sit here, who was there for the conversation? Darren McDavid, myself. I think Robert was with us. I'm not sure if Robert was there, but so you see how confused he was. He's like, I think it was me and Daryl, but I think Rob was there, but I'm not sure. Do you need your memory refreshed? He says, no, not really. Maybe he was there. If I said, maybe he was there, I don't remember precisely each time, but I'm pretty sure he was there. In your testimony here today, that you're not sure whether or not the defendant was there for the conversation, and then Canick objected, court overruled. The conversation of the money. I'm not sure if Rob was there. And she said, I'd like to show the witness to refresh his recollection. Canick objected, the court overruled, and this is Demetrius talking. He said, I did say yes, but as I sit and remember, I'm not sure if Rob was there. I'm pretty sure he was there with me, so I guess I could say yes. So your answer is yes, and he says yes, and Canick objects. They're sustained. And then she says, do you recall what, if anything, the defendant said in response to you suggesting to obtain an ID for $500? He says, I don't remember Rob saying anything about it. When it comes to Rob and Aaliyah, that was something that was happening. I don't remember any of it. Well, there's no question to you right now. Wait. This is him talking. So, what, if anything, did the defendant say? And he says, I don't remember Rob saying anything. And then the court says, the question is, having looked at this, does it refresh your recollection? So this right here is saying that the judge is having to tell him, read over this to refresh your recollection, because what you're telling us now is something different than what you said originally. Is that what you get out of that, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Barry made. Okay. And then they asked, he said, yes, I don't remember if Rob was there. If I said that, I don't remember Rob telling me that. I don't remember that. I just don't remember. I don't even remember if I told you that. It might have been written down incorrectly to me, because I don't remember Rob having anything to say about $500. You can start right there. He says he talked to Darren McDavid about the money. He didn't talk to Rob about any money. So the court is trying to get him to read what his original statement was. So was there ever a time where his testimony was in question of being impeached, guys?
Yes, not only that,
I
they wanted to lock him up. The prosecution was so mad at Demetrius for that. They even asked him, is it not true that you just sitting up here saying the stuff that you're saying because now you feel bad for the defendant?
Okay. Let me see.
And he told them, well, no, y'all not finna put words in my mouth, and I didn't say it like that, and I said this. So he was going back and forth with them for a good minute.
And before he got on the stand, he had made the prosecution sign some document that they won't prosecute him.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
he
he
got.
got immunity.
Yep.
So they asked him, did the defendant and Aaliyah exchange rings? He said, I don't remember. I don't remember. So what happened after the ceremony? We went back to the concert. How soon after that? He said an hour or so. We spent an hour or so. He says, prior to leaving the hotel to go back to the concert, did he spend any time with Aaliyah? She said, no. Maybe a few minutes. Now, while you were at the hotel, before leaving for the concert, did you have any interaction with Aaliyah? And he says, no. So when you say you went back to the concert, who were you saying went back to the concert? Me, Rob, and Tyree. Did Aaliyah go? No. So what happened after you landed? We went back to the show. So did he perform that evening? Yes. Um, Wait, if anything happened after the performance, after that, woman says, what, if anything, happened after the performance? We prepared for the next show. We didn't go back. Immediately after the performance, what happened? Well, before each performance, there was a meet and greet. Did the defendant go to the meet and greet? Yes. Was there any female guests? Yes. And did the defendant interact? Yes. It was a meet and greet. So this was at the time when Kanik started asking him questions. Now, Kenneth says, I think you testified. You told us last week that at some point Robert told you that Aaliyah may be pregnant. And he says, Robert said, if I remember, my question is, did you tell us that last week that came a time where Robert told you that Aaliyah may be pregnant? He said, thought she was pregnant, yes. And you told us that you assumed that the baby was Rob. Do you recall telling us that last week? He says, I don't remember saying anything like that. You didn't. You never saw a baby. Am I correct? No, no. It's the assumption of Aaliyah being pregnant. To my knowledge, Aaliyah was never pregnant. Now,
Booyah!
Now the question is now you at some point pled guilty to bribery. To no, he says, no. Okay. And you wrote a book. He says, yes. And in that book, you embellished a bit to make the book a little juicy. Am I correct? He says, I wrote it to the best of my ability, to how I thought. I was sitting inside a cell. I was locked up in prison, and you wanted sales. Is that correct? He says, I beg your pardon. He says, you wanted the book to sell. Is that correct? When I start writing the book, it wasn't about selling, it was about releasing things inside myself. So the judge asked, when did you write the book? He says, I wrote the book in 2000. I released it in 2011. Once I got out of prison, I got out in 2010 in May. After that, I began to find people to help me develop it. It was just a manuscript, and there was a lot of thoughts that I had inside myself regarding my relationship, my life. It was about my life. Right. So sorry, Mrs. Kenneth, go ahead. This is what the court. And in fact, you told the government that everything in that book, the things that were in that book, a couple of things weren't true. Am I correct? He says, I never told anybody that. You never told anybody that. He says, no, the things in the book is the truth to my knowledge, to the best of my ability. He says, okay, now Robert never had anything to do with you bribing anyone to get a marriage license. Am I correct? He says, no, Rob, no, he didn't. Now I want to go back.
Booyah!
Yeah, now I want to go back a little. You mentioned that Aaliyah and her mother came to the studio so Robert could work with her. Yes. Rob had a friendly relationship with her mother. Am I correct? Rob was close to the whole family. He spent a lot of time with Aaliyah's mother. Am I correct? Just his mother? No. He spent when they were there, they were together, Aaliyah and her mom. I can stop there if you want me to, but it's just going into um it goes back to Barry. This is a time where he says, and there came a point in time when Rob fired Barry. Yes. And that was after Rob fired Barry after he and Aaliyah got married. Am I correct? Yes. Now I want to go back a little bit. You told us that you're meeting Rob and the relationship that you had. How old was him? This goes back into when they first met, when he was like 16 or 17. So, um, Please read Sir McGill's comment. What is his comment? R. Kelly actually went back to court during the time to meet with his lawyer about the altercation that happened in Louisiana while playing basketball on tour. They did use the book, Sylvia, in this case.
So my thing is, how could he get found guilty for bribery
This
when the
is
man clearly said
R. Kelly actually
he
went
did
back.
not have nothing to do with the bribery?
R. Kelly actually went back to court during the time to meet his lawyer about the altercation that happened in Louisiana while playing basketball on tour. That's why he went back to. His book was Cornerstone. Oh yeah. I meant to say went back to Chicago to meet with his lawyer. So are you saying, Sir Miguel, that at the time when Demetrius is saying that they got married, that Rob actually went back to Chicago to meet with his attorneys in reference to an incident with a basketball game? Is that what you're saying? So Sylvia, you saying he was in jail when Rob was 16? Barry Hanks was still after the so-called marriage. I had a picture of Tupac when he was in lockdown. He was playing baseball. The marriage thing is confusing. Okay.
And he wasn't even charged for the marriage. He was charged for bribery.
Yeah.
And Demetrius got on the stand and said that he wasn't involved with no bribery.
Exactly.
And he got found guilty of bribery.
Yes, I just read the verdict sheets. He was convicted of the bribery. That was the Jane Doe number 1, first conviction.
So these jurors already had their mind made up about that situation.
That wasn't in the schedule. I see Sylvia in the chat. I just
Why was Louisiana brought up again?
the question was, this is the question. The question was, R. Kelly actually went back to court during that time. I'm guessing the time of the marriage, supposedly to Leah, to meet his lawyers about an altercation that happened in Louisiana while he was playing basketball. I meant to say went back. Yeah, he went back to Chicago to meet with his lawyers about an incident while he was playing basketball in Louisiana. Do you guys remember that?
Is that about the bodyguard? Kip?
Yeah. Dottie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm just sitting there listening. I was going through the transcripts. Sorry.
Is that about Kip?
What?
About the court hearing in Louisiana for a basketball game or something?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know about. I'm sorry. I don't know about that.
Sylvie said Demetrius told her that it was his idea about the 500, and he knew the person that worked there, not Rob's idea. What are you talking about?
But then you guys got to understand that after the defense questioned Demetrius and he said he don't believe that Rob was there, once the prosecution came back and redirected, they asked him the same questions
Yep.
again, and then he put Rob back in there.
Exactly.
So they said, well, was Rob there when you was getting this license? And He said, I believe he was, but you just said he wasn't. And so
That's
that's,
reasonable doubt,
yeah,
right?
he was back and forth with his testimony because um, if you would have kept reading Tanya, you would have seen
Oh,
that he says, I'm pretty sure, I think so, but I'm not. I'm just not positive. Even if I said it before, I'm just not positive. Just don't see that in my head right now.
okay. This is another part where he says, Mr. Smith, my question to you, he says, I don't remember if Rob was there. If I said he was before, I'm not changing that story to change the story. I'm just going back and I'm just trying. I don't see it in my head. Rob next to me. It was so confusing to me at this time when this thing happened because it was like an overnight thing. It was nothing we saw coming or that, when it happened, it was like, wow, it was like they wanted to do something and I was against it, but at the same time I wanted to make it happen. That shouldn't have happened. That was wrong, and that's the bottom line to that.
So, yep, see.
Yeah.
Rated R asks, I don't mean no disrespect, but let's ask why Aaliyah was so important in this case. When question A, we know she was working with other people older than her. B, she never confirmed any of this. Okay, so Aaliyah was important in this case because they had to present a pattern of behavior to the jury.
Exactly.
In New York, the only one that they could show that was underage, and that was just in California, was Azriel. By throwing Aaliyah into this, they cannot go into court and just bring up anything that was had to do with Aaliyah without actually charging him on something related to her. So that's why they had to dig deep and charge him with bribery, because once they did that, that opened the door to them being able to say, oh, well, he had a relationship with a 15-year-old and he married her. So in their mind, once the jury hear that, well, if he married a 15-year-old, then he's capable of doing what this 17-year-old said. So it was just about trying to show a pattern in the behavior. Back in
Badass.
2008, when the jury found him not guilty, a reporter asked one of the jurors why. They said, well, because the victim said it wasn't her, her parents said it wasn't her, and several other people said it. So we really didn't have enough evidence to convict him on that. Then they asked, well, did you know that he married Aaliyah? She was only 15. And one of the jurors said, well, maybe had we known that, the outcome would have been a little bit different. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they studied that. And so they, whatever mistakes they made to not get him convicted in 2008 that they feel, that's what they came back and did to correct in this trial.
Exactly.
So
And they used the RICO to be able to grab that, go back that far and grab it and use it as a part of this case.
yeah, it was just, they didn't care about no bribery. They didn't care about
No.
any of that. They just wanted to show he's capable of this and he's been doing this for this amount of time. That's all that
Which
was. It was just to paint
yeah,
this picture to the jury.
which created the RICO charges.
Hold on a minute to that. She said. Yeah,
Chat
Sylvia, I
the
know they
chat
only
is the
used
chat is throwing me
Sylvia,
off
I
with
know
this
they only used
Louisiana
him for the
stuff.
bribery. What I'm saying is, if they did not charge him, technically you can't bring any uncharged acts into a trial. If you're not charging him, you shouldn't be allowed to speak on it. Rob was never charged with anything related to Aaliyah. In order for them to try to bring that up to show that marriage, they had to charge him with something. And the only way they was going to be able to do that is because they went to Demetrius' book and seen all that extra stuff and they brought that
Yes.
in.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's when they said, okay, well, we can get him on this bribery.
Mm-hmm.
That will open the door to talk about Aaliyah.
Exactly. And I mean, New York is filled with all kinds of uncharged acts that the jury was able to hear. Um, yeah, I think
And
that's
and we
yeah,
and we know too, because we discussed this a few times, Tanya. Even with Bill Cosby, when they went to the Supreme Court, that was one of the main things that they had said, that it shouldn't have been five people allowed to testify about uncharged acts.
No, there shouldn't have been. I listened to that the other day. I listened to the entire stream of the court hearing with Bonjean, and it was brought up many times
Can you
about,
give me that?
so if you had all this proof, why did you bring all these uncharged acts into the case in order to get a conviction? Yes, there was an agreement with the prosecution and Bill Cosby, if he gave this deposition, that they wouldn't charge him, but they also wanted to know, why did y'all bring all these uncharged acts and allow the jury to hear them, and you didn't charge him with it? Why were there, if he's so guilty, why did you need all these other uncharged acts to prosecute him, to get a conviction? I think that was their exact word.
Yeah.
Their exact word was, if he's so guilty, if you had all this evidence, why did you bring all this uncharged acts to persuade? I mean, what that does is it taints the jury, because now you're not bringing charges against him with all these bad acts, but you're allowing the jury to hear all this stuff,
I
right?
believe with Spitting Fire, she said the statute of limitations,
Yeah, that's 5
because the statute of
years.
limitations fell under the RICO.
Yes.
But
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, the RICO
but
charges, the RICO, there's no, I don't think there's a statute of limitation when you're dealing with RICO, when they're dealing with the
Right.
Fed.
Other than that, if it wasn't a RICO, the statute of limitations on that bribery would have been 5 years. But because it's under that RICO, there isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they convicted him of that RICO at 17 acts, they had to only prove 3.
Yeah.
And bribery,
two.
it's
I
2.
thought it was 3, but okay. They only had to prove 2 or 3.
Right. Well, 2 or 3, but bribery was one of the ones that he ended up being found guilty on. So they
Yes.
needed that as well.
Yes.
Because other than that, there wouldn't have been no other ones. And so
Yeah.
the RICO would have been out of there.
Yes.
Which is, when his lawyers came in, that should have been the first thing they tackled, the RICO.
Yes. Yeah.
So let me see.
It had to be 2 within a 10-year period.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Also, now we go over to when we talking about Demetrius. That was his testimony. So let me explain to you how he was brought up in the Chicago case. So I actually went back. I'm going to read some of Daryl McDavid's testimony
Let me
in the
bring it up. Chicago? Okay. All right.
Let me see where I'm going to start. So I'm going to start here. It says, do you recall the first time, this is Daryl McDavid testifying. Do you recall the first time someone had threatened to file a sexual lawsuit? He says, yes, 1997. It was Tiffany Hawkins. Through Margolis. He said that they had received a fax from Susan Loggins saying Tiffany was pregnant and it was Rob's baby. That's all it had said. Margolis said to contact Rob. They both had a phone call with Rob. They asked, what did they say to Rob? They asked him if there's any truth to this. Robert answered, impacted them on what to do next. What he said was, hell no, this is some bullshit. He said, Rob said, I'll take a paternity test. Margolis was, he was filing an injunction to stop this from getting out and etc. John Toohey was hired to assist. He was a prominent commercial attorney that worked. He said, I'm sorry. I'm reading this from my notes, you guys, so please bear with me. But he said he was hired per Rob and Margolis' instructions. Toohey handled the filing of the injunction to his knowledge. After he started that injunction, the lawsuit immediately disappeared. The lawsuit was withdrawn. That told him, Daryl McDavid, that they were untrue. He said one reason he knew it was not true is because Tiffany never went to the police. If she was a minor and never went to the police, that would have been the first thing that he thought that she would do. Also, when Rob said that he would take the paternity test, she never had him do it. After that, she ended up filing another claim. Now it's changed. Now they changed the claim to something else because Robert had asked for the paternity test. Daryl McDavid felt like she was on some BS. He said he would have thought he would think that if someone said they had sex with you as a minor, you will go to the police because that's the most important thing first. She was pregnant, and then she wanted to withdraw. Then she wanted to withdraw the suit, and then she came and said she had sex with him as a minor. He said he shared his thoughts with Margolis about these kinds of claims. Margolis told him he represented hundreds of celebrities with these type of issues. He said it's fairly common in the game. He had Tiffany investigated, and then they drew up a deposition. He said we had discussed that Rob would be vindicated. That's just how it goes. But Rob ended up settling, and Daryl McDavid said that confused him. He said even though it's a rumor, things like this could hurt the client, even if it wasn't true. He said that made sense to Margolis at that point. So he said because none of this he had experienced before. He said Daryl McDavid attended the deposition because Margolis wanted him to see how it all went. Tui, Barry Hankerson, Daryl McDavid, Margolis was all there. Margolis questioned Tiffany Hawkins for 7 hours, and he had proved that she was a liar. She had got caught in lies multiple times, and it was obvious just from someone that she was just someone that wanted to get paid. At the end of the deposition, Susan Loggins asked the attorney, "How much can I get for this? Can I get anything for it?" He thought, what kind of question is that? And then Margolis said, "Well, I'll give you $250." She originally was asking for $10 million. That fact, Daryl McDavid said, further let him know that these claims weren't true. Because if you telling the truth, who goes from $10 million to $250,000? That experience impacted his thinking on people that make these claims to not be true, because she had told many different stories and lies. And Margolis again said, this is the way things go. So after Tiffany, did Susan bring other people into the office? Yes. What was noticeable about them? Daryl McDavid said, I called them cookie cutters because they all were pretty much coming in telling the same stories. He said, how did it impact your thinking that the same lawyer was bringing all these people in? He said that made me think it wasn't true. Susan had put up billboards on expressways and commercials. She had commercials saying, if you need to sue R. Kelly, I'm the person to call. This made Daryl McDavid know that the claims weren't true. You had someone actually saying, you want to sue him, call me. And he said that amazed me. Margolis handled all of the lawsuits with John Tui. The three worked together. Daryl McDavid said he wasn't involved in writing any checks. He was consulted when the claims came in, but he never really got into the detail. The process was pretty much the same, and they all ended in settlements. So when you guys are saying about that magic number, that 250,000, that was something between the attorneys.
The attorneys came up with that amount, right?
Correct. That's how much Susan was selling for each one.
Yeah.
It was hold on one second. I want to go to, since we're talking about Demetrius. So it was Exhibit 1 was the report of an investigation that Mr. Jack Palladino had did on Ashley Watkins back in January 19, 2001. It was Kelly's defamation suit. Watkins had told Demetrius Smith that she had not become intimate with R. Kelly until after her 18th birthday. This is her statement to R. Kelly's team. But Demetrius has said, but she told him, but if you want me to say it happened earlier, I still have plane tickets, so I can say that. And he told her she would get somewhere between 10 and 12,000. Demetrius immediately jumped on that and told her, yes, that'd be good. Demetrius asked her if she had had sex with Rob before she was 18. Again, she denied it. And he asked, well, did you have oral sex with him? She said no. That also showed Daryl McDavid that all of this was lies. Demetrius had told her to go to Florida, file a police report in Orlando, and that if she needed him, that he would fly down there too to assist her with that police report. She said she told him that they had oral sex while she was to tell them that she said he told them to tell the police that they had oral sex while she was under the age of 18. Daryl said he knew that it was a setup by Demetrius Smith and that it was all lies. Ossie Watkins said that she was willing to do it as long as she got paid. She had actually talked to the attorney. She had talked to an attorney, and she told the attorney, I'm 18 years old. I was 18 years old, but I am willing to lie. She said she told the attorney that because she wanted to be sure Demetrius Smith had told the attorney beforehand. This is what Watkins is telling to Palladino, which is Rob's people. And then Daryl McDavid said how he knows that the interactions he had with Tiffany and reading the interviews of Watkins, he knew that Rob was being set up by Demetrius Smith because Demetrius Smith hated him. Exhibit 2 is when Watkins informed them that she had been contacted by Demetrius Smith. She was offered money to lie about her sexual relationship. He wanted her to commit perjury, and that the money was going to be supplied to her by Barry Hankerson. Demetrius Smith offered her $10,000 to meet with his attorney, Susan Loggins, and to make these claims. And then he told her that they would turn around and sue Rob in a lawsuit where they would get over $100,000. She told him that she hadn't met with the attorney. No, I'm sorry. She told him that she hadn't had sex once again, and she said he didn't care. He said it didn't matter because Rob is going to settle anyway because he didn't want the bad publicity. And she said she believes Demetrius expected to get a portion of that lawsuit money. Daryl McDavid said it had made him sick to his stomach to know that Demetrius would do that, knowing him and Rob had been friends. After telling this to the attorney, she stopped the interview because it was fraud and said she wouldn't continue with that interview. Next, Palladino had her actually wear a wire when she spoke to Demetrius. That is what they had. Exhibit 3 is a declaration of Ossie Watkins that was given on January the 26th of 2001. So also, even the Chicago Sun-Times knew that something was sketchy because after that, right before that, a call came out, and he had General had called and he had spoken to Barry. I'm sorry, hold on 1 second. Okay, so they said that they knew Barry was behind this because right before that, the general, his name is Gerald Whittaker, he had received a call, I believe, from, I don't know if he was at the studio or he had spoken to Barry, and Barry had told him that they want $10,000 up front for her testimony. He then said Demetrius will be getting in contact with them, and he also was going to be getting statements from different people regarding R. Kelly, which was against R. Kelly. This made Daryl McDavid more worried and scared because he said that he seen that it was higher power people that was after Rob. He said Barry claimed that Rob owed him over $1 million. Um, Demetrius told her to testify. She said that she had sex with R. Kelly while she was only 17 years old, even though she didn't tell him that. Demetrius Smith even tried to coach her into this lie to make it more credible to include descriptions of various sex acts, including oral sex. Even though she had said she was over the 18, he told her to testify falsely about her age, and he would give her between 10 and 12,000. And then they would sue Rob, but he would get a part of the settlement. So that's where I'm gonna stop there. That's where the extortions and everything started when we talking about Susan Loggins and etc. That's where it all started from.
Yeah, and we can also say at the time, allegedly, according to Demetrius' book, he was an addict,
Yeah.
and he was mad with Rob because he got fired. Actually, to me, sometimes I'm like, is he in love with Rob or obsessed or what?
And Rob said so much. He said all of this is coming from people that was fired and they got a vendetta against him. They're angry. They all felt like they was entitled.
Yeah.
It was the entitlement issues that everybody felt. And then what I'm not even gonna lie to you, but Daryl McDavid said what was so sad about it is that Rob had to fire Demetrius so many times for stealing and then would hire him back and give him a raise. And he would still turn around and do the same thing.
Wow. So it's also Tiffany
Yo,
Hawkins.
yo, I didn't hear you. Your phone cut out.
No, I said it's also important for people to know also with Tiffany Hawkins that Rob countersued her.
Yeah, he did. And
She
she
sued him and go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that he sued her. Rob actually
Demetrius also
sued
testified
Tiffany Hawkins.
when he met Rob, this is sad because he said he was about 24 years old. Rob was about 16 when he met him. He met him at that talent show. And at that time, he knew Rob was even street performing then to make money. So whatever money Rob made, he would literally give what he had to give to his mother to pay her rent, and then Demetrius took the rest. This man had been getting set up, money stolen from him from the get go, like from the very beginning. He didn't have a chance.
No.
Yeah. Let me see. Do you guys see any more questions? Let's see. Did I miss any questions, Lauren?
Somebody asked, did Rob know about these lawsuits that was getting settled?
Um, I think Daryl McDavid said. I think to an extent he did because they were asked. I don't know if he knew that they were getting settled the way they was getting settled. That I don't think so. But I think they were asked, is there any truth to this?
Yeah, but
Oh,
Rob said, Daryl, you handle all the business affairs. I'm just continuing to
Yeah,
just make my music.
you are so right, Lolo. Durham McDavid did testify to that Rob says several times, I don't want to be involved in any of that. You handle that. I just want to work on my music.
so that can lead us to believe that a majority of the stuff that was going on in reference to lawsuits he didn't know anything about.
Correct.
Mm, yeah. And allegedly, I'm just going to put it out here, a lot of these women and what young women, young ladies that are claiming all this stuff happened with Rob, a lot of it probably didn't. Like, I think allegedly Demetrius was sleeping with some of them. Oh, yeah,
I
somebody said
believe
that
that.
before I got it out of my mouth. Yep. Nova.
And
It's a
Demetrius' sister came on a blogger channel and said that Demetrius was the one that was hog tying people and holding them hostage. It wasn't Rob. Rob saved somebody from being hog tied and hostage from him.
mm. Yeah, I was doing some research into that. I'm gonna send it to you. I looked in just as recently as 2020. There was the the I don't know what news, W something in Chicago, and the Chicago Tribune was trying to get information about Rob's divorce, right? And I think I still had it pulled up. It was this is a recent court case with the media. Um, we all know that Rob is the one that originally filed for the divorce, right?
Right.
Yeah. Does Rob have a baby? Does
Well,
Demetrius?
not even that. He's the one that filed for the divorce, and if you could continue to read on, he was giving her so much money that he was overpaying her, and the judge ordered Drea to pay back some of the money he had paid her.
Yep. Does Demetrius have a baby by Tiffany? I don't know.
That's what word is on the street.
Yes. So Dottie, in that document that I was reading, it was in 2020, where there was a court. The media was trying to get information in reference to their divorce, and it was pointing out the fact that Rob originally filed for the divorce, and the argument that his ex-wife was putting up, this is all alleged, was that they had one minor child and she didn't want information to be put out that could make her look bad. So I'll
Yeah, wasn't that sad when they were going to court that time? When he was arrested at the child support hearing, wasn't that sad? You said 2020, right?
yeah, this is
Yeah.
2020.
No, it was
Yeah.
20. It should have been 2019, right?
2019.
No, this is another one. This is what Chicago Tribune and W something, I guess a radio or news station that is in Chicago wanted to get access to their divorce document, and they wanted the details of the divorce.
Okay, so
I'll
I'm
send
going
it to
through
you.
this.
I'll
Wow.
send it to you.
Tanya, when you get a chance, can you send me that stream from Bill Cosby's appeal that you was talking about? I've been looking for that.
Yes, yes, I will. I'll send it to you. I'll email it to you. Where Jennifer's arguing the case with the Supreme Court.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Somebody said, "What you think, Lolo?" Rodney says, "Did the sound of that tape sound like Rob? And did RL say that was her speaking on the tape?"
Oh, did it sound like him?
I can't. What it sounded like to me, it sounded like, as far as a female, it sounded like somebody that was trying to make themselves sound like a younger person, because her voice sounded like Mickey Mouse, just kind of squeaky, and it sounded like it was role play to me. And
Uh,
and then on top of that, when you want to say, did it sound like Rob? The man on the tape only spoke maybe 2 or 3 times. It was the female on the tape that was doing all the talking.
yeah, the female was doing all the coaching.
The females was doing she was doing the coaching.
Yeah, she was
Yeah,
telling him where to put it and what to do with it and do this and do that.
Why?
She was doing that. There was no him. I think the only thing the man said, the only thing the
and
man
keep in
said on that
mind,
tape
we couldn't even
was,
see it. We could only hear it.
yeah, we can only hear it, but the only thing the man said on that tape was where he like ordering her to do something. He told her, "Be still, I'm gonna spank you."
It's been far. You
He
said you
said,
my
"Stay in that
peel.
position, I'm gonna spank you."
Oh Lord. So it did sound like Rob. But
Yeah,
it
it's
sounded like the person was a professional.
yeah, you know, it sounded like role play.
It sounded, yeah. It didn't sound like anybody was forced. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, absolutely not.
Oh Lord, have mercy. You so silly, Spitfire.
I'm trying to. Okay, what's next? Okay, we
This is
talked about the
Dr. Tate.
Mitch.
So listen, what you just read, right?
Mm-hmm.
In reference to that person that wore the wire. Was the jury present when this was being spoken about?
Yes, she just wasn't there testifying. So this was one of those stipulation letters that was admitted into evidence.
Okay.
So what her testimony and her declarations, because what they did was when they was doing an investigation into all of these girls, the private investigator had located other women that Demetrius had solicited to make these claims about Rob, that but it didn't actually fall through. So she was one of the girls that was willing to give that declaration to say this is what they were trying to encourage me to do. And so, because of everything that she had said that they were telling her to do was the same stuff that Tiffany Hawkins and them was saying, Daryl McDavid was saying there was no reason for anybody, the attorneys, him, or anybody that was around Rob to believe that any of that stuff was true because they were all telling the same stories.
So, and also another question. So the wire, did they have um a wire, the actual wire? Did she
I,
wore the
I'm
wire,
not,
right?
yeah, she wore it,
Okay.
but remember, Jack Palladino passed away.
Passed away. Okay, so he possibly had the
Three
wire.
Right.
four witnesses that could have been very pivotal in this case passed away in this
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
within this time frame.
And like Daryl McDavid and his team, I want to what before we close this out because we did a lot. It's some his team had touched on some good points. They closed the arguments. Hold on, let me get to the start of them. So what they was telling the jury, and keep in mind his team. This is all the stuff Rob was found not guilty on because they did a good job in presenting this case.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let me see,
This is Sarah McDavid's defense team.
Daryl McDavid's.
Yes. Their closing argument, right?
They correct. They
Okay.
had stressed 1100, and I said this in one of my lives as well. They had showed during the trial that they had showed that he was making. They wanted to call it settlement payments
Mm-hmm.
to Jane Rashana, but
Mm-hmm.
my thing is how if these first of all. Durham McDavid's team said whoever sees settlement payments in the amount of $1,100 a month, that don't even make sense. And then on top of that, I wrote down how the account numbers were and the amounts how they were getting sent to her every month around the same time rent is
Mm-hmm.
due is when she was getting these $1,100 payments. At one time, it was paid after the fifth. Most people, you pay your rent between the first and the fifth, you're okay. After the fifth, you start to incur late fees. So this
Yes.
particular payment, they pay $1,150. So I'm like, that's a rent payment with a
Late
late
fee.
fee.
Mm-hmm.
So Durham McDavid's team stressed those payments were not settlements. Those were all late fees. Had nothing to do with anything related to the 2008 trial because the government was trying to say that's what he was using to keep her quiet this entire time. And then
But
those
now,
payments were
but
only
now
made
the
for maybe a year straight. It's not like they were made every year since 2000 or every month since 2008 because she moved in with him.
Yes.
Don't forget that. She did move
and
in with him. Lolo, what were
and
you saying?
and now the government want to pay her rent now,
Well, they are. They gave a Section A, right?
right?
Mm. Okay.
They want to pay her rent for
Him.
life now. He
She
was
moved
just
in.
doing it for a year.
Sylvia, what are you saying, Sylvia? At 17, what was when she moved in? Is that what you're saying? And they lived in Chicago, right?
Yeah. Well, Olympia
Olympia
Fields.
Fields.
Yeah.
Still age of consent is still 17 in Illinois.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just go through these little points. So sorry, guys.
Okay. It says yes, she moved in at 17 with Drew and Robert. They had the video was done at 14. What proof they have the video was done at 14? Was it time stamped? Was the
No, it
video?
wasn't. It wasn't.
No, I'm saying like you do you know some of the old VHSs, right? It'll have the date and time on it.
Funny you say that because one of the tapes supposedly had something that was supposed to have been coming out in 2006 on it.
I remember that.
And if that tape was supposed to have been made in 2006, she would have been 22, not 14.
Yeah.
And
I
so they
think-
also say, as far as Susan, that is Jane's mother, when she testified at trial, she said that there was a meeting, that she had a meeting with DCFS regarding her daughter and Robert in 1999. But then she tried to say at the trial that the reason that they were took a trip was to get away from all the harassment and the news and etc. They didn't actually take that trip to the Bahamas until 2002. But she was
Mm,
contacted in 1999 by DCFS. And she also said under oath that that R. Kelly never admitted to doing anything wrong. She says he just didn't want, this is what she said on earth, he didn't want them to be the focus and be getting harassed in the media. He didn't like that.
mm,
Um,
She also said under oath that the reason why she was testifying is because the government threatened her, threatened to do harm to her. Sylvia, can I get that
yeah,
transcript
she said Rob.
with Susan with Rashana Mama so I could point that out?
Yeah,
Rodney says,
she said that Rob was just at that meeting. She said she had another meeting where Daryl McDavid was there, and even at that meeting, Rob didn't admit to doing anything. He was just upset about all these allegations being made,
mm,
and she admitted that she too didn't want her daughter being hounded by the press. So going on that trip just seemed like a good idea. And she
yeah,
said she admitted no one ever stopped them from talking to the police. Um, she said they would have been gone longer on that trip, but they weren't. And okay, so let me tell you this: when Jane got on the stand and asked, she said that they had to come back home because the parents had jobs and this and that. But then she said, well, we had to take the money from Rob that he was giving us because we couldn't, my parents wasn't working. Then come to find out they actually own their own businesses.
yeah. I remember you
So
saying that.
all of this is going to be in the transcripts.
Yeah.
Um okay,
So everything that I guess that we're talking about tonight is possibly going to be in this surviving R. Kelly situation that's coming out in the next couple of weeks. So if people are just now coming in, I'm just kind of resetting the room a little bit. If people are just now coming in and want to know exactly why we're discussing these particular people, and is because of this new, and I'm not promoting this documentary, or well, this I wouldn't even call it a documentary because it's a one-sided story, but um no, we're not promoting that. But I think the only reason why Dottie wanted to do this Q&A was to bring awareness and what could possibly be said when or on this documentary, these particular people in general, just from the brief, what we briefly saw with the preview, right? um the preview showed a lot about Azrael, you know, getting into the boys or whatever. I think that'll be another segment that we discuss when it comes to that. But um, again, I'm just resetting the room as to why this she's doing it. So please, I know I'm not watching it. I don't think anybody on the panel is going to watch it. I'm not interested in it because we know more than Lifetime knows, as those has been following this case from day one. So no one, I don't think on this panel has ever said that Rob was a perfect human being. He is a man. He's human. You know, there may be some things that, you know, morally we wouldn't agree with, but is it illegal? So again, we're just coming on here to just refresh people's memories, if you watch it or if you don't watch it, as to what occurred with some of these people that are going to be presented on this last and final, as they say. I was reading a lot of comments and different people who were posting this about, like the Shade Room and all them who posted that this new documentary was coming out. I was reading the comments from people who were basically saying, enough is enough. Dang, y'all beating a dead horse. Like, why do y'all keep um talking about it? Okay, the man is in jail. Like, there was a lot of, there was
People, pe-
there
people
was
were
not a lot of,
saying,
yeah, there was not a lot of people saying I'm watching it. There were a lot of people saying not watching it because it's like beating a dead horse. Damn, the man is in jail. What else y'all want? I saw a lot of that. So again, just kind of refreshing the room, Dottie. That's all I wanted to do. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
and people were saying in the comments, like, dang, it's a third part. When did they ever have a second part? They didn't even know about the second part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were actually filming that third part while we was at the New York trial. So if you ask me, that trial was part of their little movie. That's
Yeah.
what that was.
And so
Um,
if you guys have noticed that the parents have disappeared at this point, they're not really online talking about it anymore. And some of the, I can guarantee you, I'm not watching it, but I can guarantee you some of this stuff that they've been dealing with some of these bloggers or YouTube channels or whatever is going to be mentioned, because if you recall on that preview, it says it said it's going to address the fans. Remember? So I'm
well, they need.
sure.
I hope they address Damon Pryor's reports where he said that Lisa Van Allen had admitted that Keith and Chuck had put that video one together that was in the 2008 trial. They put it together using a lookalike of R. Kelly's.
Yes.
I hope
Yes.
they talk about that. I hope they address how Lisa Van Allen got tore apart on this stand about how she lied on Surviving R. Kelly. And they showed her Facebook text messages where she was trying to get Keith to coincide or to basically co-sign on her story so that when the producers contacted him, he'll be able to co-sign on what she was saying. Um,
And
that's
then I hope they show that with Lisa, how Lisa got on the stand and said that with Surviving R. Kelly, she wasn't saying certain stuff that she was saying on Surviving R. Kelly. They changed up her words.
and
Yeah,
To
no.
also
say that she
May I think it was May of 2020 when they actually went and talked to her and she was still telling these people that she was 17 years old. All this time passed and she was still saying the same thing, that she was 17 years old, until they actually had to go back to her and tell her, "Do you realize that you were actually 18?"
No,
So
of
she
course you
kept,
got.
huh?
No, I was getting ready to say, of course you guys know that that probably won't even be a part of that. They gonna keep this narrative. You know what I'm saying? They may not even bring her in. But yeah, I'm sorry.
And she was told in she was told right before she spoke to the grand jury in 2008, you know that you wasn't 17, you was 18. But after that, she still proceeded to tell these stories on Surviving R. Kelly and etc. that she was 17 years old.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that was part of why, if you guys think back in 2008 when they said that they was going to impeach her testimony and that she
Mm-hmm.
almost went to jail for lying so much. That's part of
Mm-hmm.
that's and it's funny because this trial she tried to leave and not show up for court.
Mm,
Yeah, they have to go send marshals to get her.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, they probably won't play any of that, but y'all, I hope you guys that are on here can see, and if you just not including R. Kelly's case, but if you see what's going on right now, they are using us against us, right? Um, we just need to pay close attention to what's going on. And we tried to
Yeah.
warn these people from the very beginning when this trial was going on, while they were making memes and making jokes about R. Kelly, that he was may be the first, but he definitely won't be the last when it comes to these Ricos and this all this stuff. We didn't hear about it. May have been going on, but it definitely wasn't publicized about these Rico cases and all that until, in my opinion, after R. Kelly situation.
Yeah.
But it was a laughing matter. So, now, I mean, it's in full effect now. It's in full effect. The narrative has been pushed. It's us against them, which meaning when I say us against them, it's black men against black women. That's the narrative that's being pushed now, and I think that they're wanting to have things portrayed. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Let me see.
Modern day buck breaking. Do you guys know what buck breaking is? If you don't, just kind of look it up.
So that's I don't know if we did you I don't know if you said it, Tanya, or not, but this probably gonna be like part one.
Yes.
And we're
No, I
gonna
didn't say
continue on until we can figure out exact because we don't know everything that they're gonna be saying, but I'm trying to like put together this person is probably gonna be on the show. So I'm trying to what I want to do is like kind of get ahead of it
that. Yeah.
and put out what was said. So like for the next part, you brought up Michael Williams.
Yes.
Because we know we seen the explosion, so we know they're gonna talk about that. So let's talk
Yes.
about Michael Williams tomorrow.
Yes.
And we need to talk more about Lisa Van Allen.
And if you want me to, I can actually read the entire transcript with Michael Williams, because that is you.
The
We see
to
in the
me, the
movie.
most important part is when he said at his sentence, when he told the judge at his sentencing, he did not know Rob. This
Yes.
wasn't about Robert. He
Yes,
didn't
it
know
is.
him. And what
Yeah.
he said it was about. That's the most important part.
Yes. Yes. We will definitely.
Um,
We have that, and we'll definitely go over that and read that on part two.
and then of course we gotta probably address one other set of parents.
Yes. Oh, most definitely, because that other set of parents is what sparked this, right?
Yeah. And now
Allegedly.
again, one of the Jane Does testified that that's exactly what happened. They
Yes.
solicited people. They went looking for people that knew Rob, and
Yep.
it just took off from there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I guess we're gonna chat before tomorrow, and then put some things together, and we're
Yes.
gonna come back. And I just feel like if we have to, should we do this for the rest of the week? Because when does it come out? Next week?
Yes. Comes out next
And,
week.
and we just talk about what we know.
Yeah.
What we know to be true and what we heard. Well, not what we heard, but what we actually witnessed and what is being said in these public transcripts.
Yes. Yes.
You
And
know,
I don't think anything that we're speaking of is not something that is not in a
no,
trend.
not period, because I wouldn't say it if I didn't hear it from their mouth. I would not
Yes.
put it out there like that. If that,
Yeah.
it is what it is. That's what you said. I wouldn't repeat something that I did not hear in that courtroom. This is the
Yeah.
reason why I normally only go live after hearings or after the trial, because I
Exactly.
just want to give you exactly what was said there, so it won't be no third party stuff and it won't be no hearsay, none of that.
Yeah. It's a paper trail.
Everything that I say, you can fact check it.
Yeah, you can take it to the bank in cash.
Please do. So, and I just like to keep it like that, and just just share whatever information you have here or whatever information you gather here. You learn, take it with you, and share it on whatever platform y'all use. But um, please come back tomorrow so we can finish this. Please come with some questions, like some heavy hitting questions. Let's get to it, because they gonna be,
And then
they gonna
possibly,
come with it. So we need to bring it.
yeah, and so possibly, I mean, we can talk offline, Dottie, like, before at the end of this, maybe a panel of for talking points. You know what I'm saying? People to
Yeah, let's
really
do that. Like let's say like Friday or something. Let's just get a group of us to sit up here, and yeah, let's do that. We could
yeah,
just recap everything that we talked about, um, starting today, from today
yeah,
until then,
yep.
and just keep sharing the videos. So today we talked about the Jane Doe in the New York trial, the star witness. We talked about Demetrius.
Hmm.
And we talked about Susan Loggins. And who was the other person? Was it just the parents?
Yeah,
The
and then
one
some
set
of
of
that,
parents.
yeah, and then some of that can be revisited if there's questions tomorrow or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, at the beginning. So, because I don't
yes,
want to,
yeah, at
keep
the
talking
beginning,
about the same thing. We want to move, because it's a lot.
it's
When
a
I
lot.
say it's a lot, it's a lot. So we got to stay focused,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we can talk about. Let's.
Geronda, what does it say? Oh, Lisa, no,
Oh yeah, we talked about Geronda.
yeah,
Geronda.
yeah,
And we talked about a little bit about Bubba, what part he played. So
okay.
that's in this video. Tomorrow to be more so about, like I said, Lisa Van Allen. Oh, we definitely got to talk, because I heard them say that we
Michael
definitely
Williams.
have to go over Alex and Lewis testimonies.
Yes, yes, we have those. We can
That's
talk about Alex
tomorrow.
Lewis,
Alex and Lewis. Yep.
Alex Lewis and Michael Williams, right?
Michael Williams. Yep. And the
The other
parents.
parent. Yeah.
So is there anything else? We did 3 hours today. Any other last minute questions before we say goodnight? Don't look like it.
No, my MacBook. I'm trying to find my charger for my MacBook so I can plug it up. But we're about to.
Lolo,
I
Hmm?
think Lolo
you
then
got
went to
anything
sleep.
you want to say?
Oh, we did a
Anything
good
you want
job.
to add?
We did a good job, man.
He said, I just want to just give
Yeah.
myself some credit. We did a good job. Okay, let me see.
Javante, she is a non-factor child. She's
We
such a
definitely got, because I don't, she going to be on there. She
yeah. I
definitely
think
going to be on there.
you talking about the one with the mustache?
Oh, you know what else we got to do, you guys? Yes, the one, her. So we definitely got to talk about her. But you know what else? Come Friday, I also want to discuss those impact statements.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Is there transcripts of that?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good
Um,
question. I
I
know
have
I
to look
had
on
notes, but
Facebook.
I don't. I got notes. I probably did a video on it. If I did a video, I did a video on. I'm pretty sure it's either on this channel or it's going to be on Infamous Sylvia's platform. So I'll
Yeah,
go
you can
back
do
and watch.
another recap on it.
But I could do that. But them impact statements, yeah.
Yeah, just do a recap on it.
So,
All
all
right.
right, you guys. I pray you all have a blessed night.
You too.
And I can't wait till tomorrow.
All
And
right.
Bring y'all
robbing,
questions.
keep robbing y'all prayers, y'all.
For sure. Definitely do that. Keep each other in your prayers.
Yeah.
And
And
let's just
remember
meet
what I
here
said
tomorrow.
earlier. Remember what
Tomorrow.
I said earlier about the agenda that's being pushed right now. So
Yep,
just
that's
be
what we do.
vigilant and stay, you know.
So tomorrow it'll be a little bit earlier, you guys. So we won't go until after 9:00. So we probably will come on about an hour earlier. So maybe like 5. We'll discuss that, Lolo. But it'll be a little bit earlier tomorrow.
4,
I got
5,
because
5
I know
o'clock.
you said
5
tomorrow night,
o'clock
right,
is
Lolo?
tomorrow evening. Yeah.
Okay. I hope you guys come back tomorrow and talk with us.
Good night, everybody.
Y'all
Good
stay
night,
safe
everybody.
out there. Stay warm. Have a good night.
Good night.